had a chance to review all of the files for today because there were so many. So let me ask if y'all will give me short opening statements telling me what the issues are and where I will find your pretrials. So petitioner is which party?
Your Honor, Mrs. Throckmorton is the petitioner. In our exhibit list, our proposed disposition of issues is P1. Thankfully, this case doesn't have a lot of moving parts. It's pretty simplistic. There's really just two issues. The parties divorced in 2017, 7 years ago. Their kids were in kindergarten at that time and in third grade. And now 7 years have elapsed. And as is very common with children who are teenagers who are now 13 and 16, they have self-selected and they are requesting that they want to do a week on, week off schedule. So the parties originally started discussing the week on, week off schedule in the summer of 22. It did not happen. They continued to do the 2-2-5 schedule, which they've done for the last 7 years. And then subsequently in the summer of 2023, in June, they resurrected that discussion again. And that was predominantly because both boys were asking for it, but it was really Thomas, who is 16 and a half, who was requesting that they do a week off due to coursework, due to the fact that they had a lot of extracurricular activities. He's in band, he plays the French horn, he does a lot of charity and service work. And so he was the one that was going to both of his parents, both to Ms. Throckmorton and Mr. Throckmorton, requesting this week on schedule. And so that is what we want. We are understanding that the proposed disposition of issues for Mr. Throckmorton is simply to continue the 2-2-5. We don't believe that that is appropriate given the age of the kids. But the other issue is there were discussions about moving to it, but what's the exchange date? And we have always consistently wanted Fridays as an exchange date. And both the family therapist and Ms. Throckmorton are going to outline a bunch of reasons why Fridays are a better exchange date. Mr. Throckmorton had said he'd be willing to do it if it was a Sunday exchange day. We are arguing in the alternative that if it's not a Friday to Friday, Your Honor, that it would be a Monday to Monday. And that the Fridays are consistent with what they've already been doing under the 2-2-5. They've always done the exchanges after school on Fridays. And so we would like that to continue. We do have a small housekeeping issue because the family therapist, Diane Arnette, is testifying in another case this morning, also over Zoom, but she was supposed to be called in the morning. I don't anticipate that her testimony will be very long, but she has met with Thomas 26 times individually. She's met with Turner, the other son. She's met with him 21 times. She has met briefly with Mr. Throckmorton. She's met a lot with Ms. Throckmorton. And so we think that her testimony is very relevant. And she is going to talk about how the boys were both asking for Friday exchanges and week on, week off, that they attempted to discuss this with their father and they were shut down. She will have the ability to talk about what it is that they're saying, that they're scared of their dad, that he humiliates with them, that he is not open to discussion, that when they continue to bring the discussions up to him, that he then he shuts them down and there's a consequence for it because they're talking back. And so they have made these attempts to have these discussions and it hasn't gone anywhere. And so because of that, we think, both on Ms. Throckmorton's testimony about why she believes that the Fridays are better and on the family systems therapist, that will be enough. We did have a motion to confer with Thomas, but because Ms. Arnette is going to be available today, Judge Schleifer, I think that they have put, when I say they, Mr. Throckmorton has put Thomas down as somebody that you should speak with. And so if that is his choice, then, we will honor that, but we're not requesting for you at this time to speak with Thomas. His therapist can speak on his behalf. And then the only other issue is really a housekeeping issue, which is once you start the week on, week off, you want to have a reset provision for purposes of ensuring that nobody has 3 weeks at a time. And so after an extended summer of 2 weeks or after an extended Christmas, they also have like a special 4th of July clause, and that's for a full week. And so anytime there's going to be some long period of time that would exceed 14 days, we would ask for there to be a reset. I do think that we have an agreement on that piece, but maybe Mr. Samp can let me know if we have an agreement. I really think it's either 2-2-5 versus week on week. And if they have adjusted their pleadings or their arguments for today, then Sundays versus Fridays for the exchange date. And that's it for today.
All right. So it sounds like there's kind of 3 issues. One is the week on request. The second is what day the exchange will occur on.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's granted. And the third is reset provision.
Yes, Your Honor. That's
got it. All right. Thank you. So, Mr. Samp.
Good morning, Your Honor. Attorney Skylar Samp from Gwen and Todd, representing Mr. Throckmorton, who is present to my right. It's a pleasure to finally be in front of you, Judge. Just a few things before I begin my opening. The opposing party filed their pretrial forms late. They filed them yesterday at 4:19 p.m. And those were supposed to be filed at least 3 days prior to the hearing. So I'm going to object to those. And they filed their witness list and other exhibits roughly 1 minute before today's hearing. Those were supposed to be emailed at least 2 hours prior to the hearing. So I'm going to object to those and the witnesses that they intend to testify surrounding that. Your Honor, regarding today's issues, this week on, week off throughout the school year was presented to my client roughly 9 months ago. At that juncture, Dad was open to it. Mother's intent in bringing this week on during the school year was to appease her. It was for her benefit because her partner has children of her own and her schedule was week on, week off. So he said, I'm open to it. Let's talk this through. And Father said, okay, I'm going to talk to the children's guidance counselor and figure out which day during the weekend works best. He said, Sundays is usually what children do. Then he spoke to the children's coach. He said, which day works best with extracurriculars? They said, Sundays are usually what parents with week on do. Now this in conjunction with the fact that Father's employed and Mother's request that it be a Friday made no sense for him. It made sense for her because her partner is doing week-ons on a Friday. He found no other reasoning behind this. Mother at the time, and to our knowledge, is not gainfully employed. So there's no issue there. The children have extracurriculars. Extracurriculars can get them home immediately after school on a Friday, or it can have them come home at midnight on a Friday. That causes issues for transfers with the parents not having a set time, even if an order would provide a set time. Sundays made sense. Father travels during the week. And if on a Sunday, although Father can choose when he travels, that allows him to travel every other Friday. Whereas if it's not on the weekend, he can't do that. That eliminates an entire day of travel every single week for Father. It simply didn't make sense. Now, you heard from the other side that Mother's always wanted Fridays. That's not the case. In fact, as recent as Mother offered Sundays, Father accepted, Mother retracted. Mother said, now I want Mondays without any rhyme or reason. Monday, once again, doesn't make any sense for the children. And then she amended her filing and she put Friday back in. So in a span of 1 day, Mother didn't know whether she wanted Friday, Sunday, Monday, or back to Friday. Mother cannot find a valid reason outside of the fact that she said she may want to volunteer on Sundays as to why Sundays wouldn't work. Now, she did file a motion to have the children confer with you. I see no need for that. While my client may testify today that the children are indifferent and don't want to be involved, that's more the reason for us not to have them confer with you. We won't object to it if they want to push that, but we don't think that that's in the best interest of the children or even necessary. We think common logic would say that Sundays would likely be the most convenient for all parties involved, especially the children. I don't see any need for therapists or anyone else to be testifying today. This is a very simple common sense issue. It's Mother wants week on, week off. Dad is okay with it. So I think we can take that issue off the table as long as it doesn't interfere with his work and Fridays interfere with his work. So frankly, Your Honor, we don't mind the housekeeping issue. We've never had an issue with that with the more than 14 days. So that's off the table. It simply comes down to what is logical. What can Father actually do? And that's over the weekend. That's Saturday or Sunday. And Sundays are the only logical day for that to occur. And that's, I think it's a fairly simple issue, Your Honor.
All right.
And
Well-
Judge Member, can I respond to, we actually filed our pre-trials on March 4th. So we've had them in a timely fashion. We simply amended because we discovered that 4th of July was a full week. And so we needed to add and have clarification. We said extended and holiday, but we wanted to just ensure that was clear. So that was timely filed. Also, Diane Arnette has been a family therapist for this family since the time of the divorce 7 years ago. She was disclosed back in February 19th. So we have always known that Diane Arnette, we have been talking about what time Diane Arnette could be able to testify. So it's just inappropriate to say that and just blatantly to say that we did not do our things in a timely fashion. But additionally, he sent us a calendar of his own work travel and we compressed it the minute we got it. And what Mr. Samp is saying is just untrue. He does travel about 26% of the time, according to his own calendars. And out of that 26% that he's traveling during his time, there's only 3% currently under the 225 that ever falls on what would be considered weekend time. And he normally would have his mother help him out with that period of time. So what you're really going to hear here is that this is about grievance. He is upset that Ms. Throckmorton left him for Trisha her current partner, and that he does not agree with her sexuality. He does not agree with her religion. He has been angry for the last 7 years, and all of his communication to her is full of anger and grievance and victimhood. And he simply does not want the children to have Friday to Friday or Monday to Monday because of what Ms. Throckmorton wants. So this is not about the work schedule, because his own exhibit actually shoots down his own argument. It is simply that if Ms. Throckmorton says black, he says white. It has to be something different, because he is so full of intensity and anger at the choices that she made that broke up the marriage, and where she is happy with her partner currently.
All right. Well, so let me just ask,
Mhm.
Mr. Stamp, it sounds like you all are not opposing the week on, week off, so as the exchanges on Sunday. Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And you all don't have an issue with the proposed reset provision?
No issue.
Okay. Well, that narrows the issues some. So I understand what they are. And then Ms. Londergan, you may call your first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. My first witness would be Ms. Throckmorton. And who currently lives with you, Ms. Throckmorton, in your household?
Currently, it is myself, my partner Trisha, my 2 sons, obviously when they're here for their custody, and then her 2 children, Chase and Avery, who are of the same age, who are also on a custody schedule with her and her ex-husband.
The same age as your children?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
And can you please tell the court the names of your sons and how old they are, what grade they're in, a little background information?
Both boys are very active in both school and sports and social and community efforts.
And at the time that you were divorced, how old were the boys and what grades were they in at that time?
Yes. So when the kids were 6 and 9, they were in kindergarten, 3rd grade, I believe. Obviously, very young.
And I now understand that we're not arguing that the status quo of 225 continues, but still give the court a flavor for, in this intervening 7 years, how have the boys' lives changed in terms of their academic work or their extracurriculars, et cetera?
Yeah. So when we had the divorce, the life did not include as many layers and commitments as today. School was limited to in-person activities and not as high pressure or online and autonomous. That COVID kind of changed that. Activities were limited to a few sports or social options. Most of the things were on weekends and very limited in their time frame. Also, I'll just stick to the kids. There's been a lot of changes for everyone in terms of just me and my Mr. Throckmorton's jobs and lifestyle too. But then, now forward, the boys are very involved. My oldest is very, very active in school band, as well as various sports. He's a member of a service organization that has service hours and monthly meetings on Sundays. The band is not just the school commitment. They're a performance marching band, and they travel a lot for various competitions with heavy concentration in the fall and obligations to be at the Friday games. And it also is a very tight-knit community, so it includes a lot of activities outside of just the actual performance aspects. Conversely, Turner is also very involved. His passion is football, and he also participates in several other things. And so life and their schoolwork has amplified dramatically. It's a lot that they have to independently manage. And obviously, as Thomas gets closer to college, the pressure, especially at a school like Vandergrift, is very high.
And at this time, can you put up petitioner's exhibit number 4? So I always like the court. I'm sorry, it's number 4, which are the pictures of boys. So that the court. So in this particular picture, exhibit 4, was that after church or after?
That was at a family wedding last year.
Okay. And that is that close? Is obviously closer in age to the
Objection, relevance.
Overruled.
Your Honor, at this time, I've just asked to admit 4. I would also ask Hannah to put up 5, which is just another picture of my client and her children.
All right. Any objections to 4 or 5?
One moment, Your Honor. Your Honor, object to any exhibit provided to us 1 minute before this hearing.
All right. Let me hang on. So I do ask that everybody upload their exhibits and exhibit lists. I forget what it says, 24 or 36 hours or something like that before the hearing. That does make it easier on everyone, but I'm not going to entertain objections solely because you didn't follow the procedure that I laid out. So if you have another objection, I'm happy to hear it. And I'm also going to ask that in the future, you all do comply with that request, but I'm going to disallow any exhibits for that reason. So any other objections, Mr. Sam?
Yeah, I would just object to relevance, Your Honor.
All right.
I think the sole issue here is which day works for the family, not whether the family has whether they have good rapport with one another.
All right, fair enough. It does help to have a picture of the kids that I am going to be ruling on. So I'm going to overrule the objection, and P4 and 5 are admitted.
Your Honor, and I did to state, you can see that our exhibit lists are both very short. We didn't actually do any discovery on this case because we thought that the case would be settled. We asked to go to mediation. We were shot down for that. And so, but ultimately, these pictures are simply so that you can see who it is that you're working for today. And there's not really much of anything else other than Ms. Arnette's CV that we are to them with our disclosures back in February. So going back, at what point did the boys, without talking about hearsay comments, Ms. Throckmorton, at what point did the boys come to you and request a schedule change? How many years was that?
It initially started coming up as they were heading into high school and middle school. Obviously, those were big transitional moments, but specifically, it came up as part of the conversations heading into this school year. Yes. And
your understanding about the reasoning behind wanting to switch to week on, week off was what?
As you know, I cited with the change in everyone's life, including and most specifically their needs of the growing independence, growing complexity of their schedules, just the frequency of things that were always occurring, and their own maturity and comfort with being away from each of us for periods of time, which was one of the reasons why we did 225 in the first place. It became logical and necessary for minds to not have as much back and forth, and to be able to have longer periods of time, to have a complete school week, et cetera, to be able to live their lives.
And so you went to Mr. Throckmorton and made this request. And what was his first initial knee-jerk reaction about his response when you asked to go to this new schedule?
When I first brought it up as they were heading into high school, he said that the current 225 worked for him and that he would not change because of that, and the fact that he had originally asked for week on, week off, and that you and I had insisted on 225, and so he was not going to change.
And so for clarification, I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt. It appears that Ms. Throckmorton may be reading something. I'm not saying she is, but I just would like the court to instruct her that if she is reading something, to not be doing that.
All right. So I will tell you, Ms. Throckmorton, if you are reading something, then Mr. Samp will have the ability to ask for a copy of whatever you're reading. So
I'm reading a note that reminds me to be poised, and to make it to be poised and professional is what I'm reading. That's what I'm continuing to look down at, just to keep myself calm.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so his first reaction was, in the divorce, I wanted week on, week off. You said no, so I'm not going to give it to you. What was his second reason for not wanting to go to the week on, week off?
He said that his reason was the existing schedule was working for him. Second, it was that frustration over the fact that I was coming back with the very thing he had asked for in the first place.
And then he gave you another reason why he didn't like it. And what was that?
Well, that was the first time. This year, when we went to it, he didn't object to week on, week off. I suggested Friday to Friday. It was tied to my reasons for to do that being tied to my partner and her schedule versus the kids' needs.
Okay. And then ultimately, what was the reason why he gave of why he was not agreeable?
For week on, week off?
Yes.
The first time, it just kind of died because it was just a non-negotiable with those two things. This time, he was agreeable to week on, week off. The conversations progressed where, and this is why we're here today, the detail of how that week on, week off executed became the item in question.
And so I think that this is sort of the linchpin for Judge Schleifer. Why is it that you, Ms. Throckmorton, believe that Fridays are better than Sundays? For, like, I know that you've enumerated a bunch of reasons. If you could walk the court through those reasons.
When we went into this, I never in my wildest dreams thought that it was going to be to this level of conflict, because we were already doing Friday to Fridays in the summer. And when the kids went from me to Todd on a weekend, that was happening in the Friday. And so there was familiarity and an experience that had indicated no problems to that point. That was number one. Two, when you look at the school calendar, and the majority of holiday breaks and whatnot, they start on Fridays. So it made logical sense to me, thinking about how, with our holiday breaks and the holidays that are prescribed as part of our decree, that would be a natural transition point. The other part is it allowed the weekends to stay clean where the kids would head into a weekend, be able to relax with that parent and enjoy and take on their activities, and then head into a full school week with that same parent, being able to head into that week and then transition to the next. The other thing is, I'm not going to for this. They do live in a household when they're with me with 4 other teenagers. 2 teenagers is a lot. 4 teenagers is a lot. That schedule, when we all talked, their desire was to have that schedule align, if not alternate as much as possible, just because it is a lot of activities, it's a lot of motion, and their desire was week on, week off, Friday to Friday, to help align with all those things.
And will you tell Judge Seufer the quality of their relationship with Trish's children?
They're 4 very, very different kids. There has been, like any 4 teenagers you put together, there is good moments and bad moments, but generally they are very cordial and accommodating to each other. They're just 4 very different kids. In fact, the 2 youngest, Turner and Avery, are constantly kind of coming up with trouble all the time, given their similar personalities and friend groups.
And when you discussed the Friday to Friday schedule with the family therapist, or Diane Arnette has mostly been meeting with the children, what was her thought about Fridays to Fridays versus Sunday to Sunday?
Her thought that it followed both the lot and the best.
Sustained.
I'll ask Ms. Arnette about that in a minute. What was your reasonings for the judge about why you believe Sundays do not work?
Sundays had several challenges to me in that, first and foremost, it, by its very nature, requires both parents to be involved in a weekend rather than having it clean. So by the exchange happening on a Sunday, that means both parents are touching each weekend, which seemed at odds with the both what we had been doing and what was being presented to me as the reasons why Sunday through Sunday was a better option. Sunday to Sunday would present lots of challenges when we are executing things like holidays or within school, which is right in line with what I just said. I also didn't see, and it's helpful to see Mr. Throckmorton's calendar now, but I also did not see how Sundays were going to add so much additional value in protecting a work calendar that is still free for the majority of a work week, that it was worth, that it was choose that, which we had never tried before and was not in the flow of what the kids were familiar with.
Let me just ask, what time of were y'all talking about doing the exchanges on Sunday?
Same as we currently do. Oh, I'm sorry.
It was originally proposed 3, but we landed on 5.
And I guess that's another question that the judge probably wants answered. We are requesting the exchanges occur at what time on Fridays?
As soon as school gets out, I believe is what we.
And then the alternative, we were saying to do it on a Monday as opposed to a Friday. And what time were we requesting on the Mondays?
At the beginning of school.
And when you are arguing the alternative for Mondays, why do you believe you have your primary goal of getting Fridays, but if you did it on Mondays, why do you think the Mondays are superior to the Sundays?
The Mondays allow for a clean start to the school week and the weekends to be clear and clean as well, and the boys to finish at one place and launch into the other. But really, my biggest reason for Monday to Monday was that was what Mr. Throckmorton originally asked for, and after going back and continued to ask for up until recently. And so when I was looking to find some kind of middle, that seemed like the most logical choice.
And so I want to address one of the things that Mr. Samp says in his opening, which is, negotiation talks are somewhat sacrosanct, but we were at a point just wanting to reach an agreement on the week on, week off. Why do you not have the peace to agree to the Sundays, though at some points you did have agreements about Sundays as opposed to Fridays?
Listen, I do not that we're here nor have any pride in that is this topic is here. Has been, he said, a journey over months that has had a lot of twists and turns. And why I could not ultimately do it is, one, I truly believe it is in the best interest of the kids to be week on, week off, and to be Friday to Friday. That also ping-ponged throughout this discussion in terms of his desires. And ultimately, the pain and the frustration that came and through our divorce has perpetuated a pattern of behavior and communications that make it very difficult to find a shared path, let alone one that is both respectful and comfortable.
So that might be a little bit out of order in the calendar, but do explain to Judge Seufer Mr. Throckmorton's feelings about the divorce.
Ultimately, I am not proud of the way that up to our divorce and
objection calls for speculation.
That's overruled. I'll allow the parties to tell us their understanding of what happened.
Judge, I had an affair with my current partner that led I mean, among other things that led to our divorce, but that was the kicking point. It was very painful. It was very public. It was very humiliating to all parties involved. I'm not proud of it. I have worked very hard to both apologize and to rectify whatever hurts I have caused. But the damage has been done, and it's been clear in that for the past 7 years, those decisions have continued to be surfaced every time we do not agree on anything, and have been continually referenced as a reason to believe that I am not to be trusted, that I am self-centered, and that I am rigid. And so the narrative or the belief has created a filter to which all decisions and communications flow. And I feel for the pain, but it is like being in an endless penalty box of that only impacts the children first and foremost.
And to be clear, the divorce commenced because you were in a relationship with Trisha, and that continues to be who you are in a relationship with today.
Correct. My choice for the affair and the continued pursuit of my lifestyle and life choices has been met with continued disapproval.
And so tell the court just a small flavor of the commentary that he currently gives you 7 years later in reference to this.
He frequently events of the past that led up to and around our divorce, as well as challenges that have occurred as, you know, my relationship has continued to recur, to basically continue to accuse me of being a deceitful, self-centered, and rigid person.
And what does he say about your sexuality?
He has never disparaged me directly, but
I'm going to allow this by way of background, and I allow your client to get into it as well if they want. You may continue, Ms. Throckmorton.
thank you, Your Honor. He has continually referenced my choice of both a woman and choice of partner as something with which he does not approve of, and has even asked at several times to discuss things like my feelings on Pride Week and what I'm saying to the boys and whatnot, because he wants to make sure that his views are known too and that they don't get confused.
What has he said about your religion and your choices involving that?
He has, because of my choice, made references to how do I call myself a Christian when I live the way I do and act the way I do.
And so historically, over the course of 7 years, when you and Mr. Throckmorton had disputes about other issues, not the week on, week off, like ultimately, how have they been resolved due to the fact that he has this anger towards you?
I mean, it varies, but ultimately in the beginning, I would try to concede. It was, you know, we were both in an all or nothing, I think, mentality. Over time, what has happened, and that's certainly a reason why there's been so much back and forth here, is there's just back and forth, and I say tomato, you say tomato, and it just becomes so exhausting that I just say yes, because it's not, like I said, there's a filter with which everything is, because of the hurt and pain and choices of the past. It just becomes very difficult for it to be, and we even see, on conversations, I see them as very, very contentious. He says we're just talking, and I'm sorry, when I'm sitting on the other side of a table crying, that's not pleasant. And so this is a long-winded way to say there is pain and there is hurt and there is trauma, and that continues to flow into all our conversations and make things very hard, which I regret.
And in terms of how his relationship with boys, like how does that same way of interacting with you bleed over into the boys? Todd has a very strong relationship. Diane can speak that more. It does come, I mean, we have very different parenting styles. That in itself is challenging, and very different beliefs and political views and everything, so it can't help but affect them. I do believe they feel, as I think even Mr. Stamp said, they feel caught in the middle a lot. They just want peace. And unfortunately, that's something Throckmorton and I have struggled to find. And if the boys voice their needs to him, or that, like specifically with this topic about wanting a week on, week off and wanting Friday exchanges, how does he react to that? It depends. Once again, Ms. Arnette may be able to say this better. I do know that throughout, or she knows how he deals with the kids. But if Ms. Arnette is better to speak to it, then that's fine. I'll ask her that question.
So, Ms. Throckmorton, I'm going to sustain that objection to the extent that you're just relying on what the boys have told you. But to the extent that you have any observations of your own from watching the interaction between the boys and your ex-husband, you're welcome to talk about that.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Lisa, did you want to go?
Yes, you heard what Judge Schleifer said. Like, if there's any, they tried to resolve this with him. What were the behaviors after that fell short? Ultimately, it's been a lot of tears that I have seen firsthand, just with the frustration, once again, of us wanting to find peace. And it's why, you listed the numbers of times
the kids have been going to Diane long before this topic. So let me just be clear about that. But it's the reason I have taken them and made sure they were checking with them is so that they had someone that was impartial that they could talk to.
Okay. You have had the opportunity to review Mr. Throckmorton's Exhibit 1, which is his calendar, as it relates to the kids' activities, and it's his calendar and his summary, but what things stood out to you as being incorrect?
I don't say they were incorrect. I just think they weren't completely, if the conversation around the breadth of activities and just the calendar, I think they were missing some things. Even in the kids' activities, there's a lot more that was not listed. It's hard. There's just so much going on all the time. It's hard to keep track of it all.
And so Mr. Throckmorton's main argument against the Fridays is his work calendar. And so his work was on those calendars that he submitted. You had a chance to review them. Tell the judge kind of 30,000-foot view what you noticed on those calendars.
I noticed the same stats that you looked at. I was surprised because of the amount of conversation that we have had around the needs of his new promising and rising job. It was not as frequent as I would have thought, and especially knowing and having observed, the kids being, or his travel just by his absence during the week and whatnot. I just expected it to have more. And that may be a byproduct of the fact that we're in this 225. It's just my observation.
So I gave those stats in my opening argument, but can you please tell the court, statistically, if you're the witness, what you noticed in terms of the percentages of travel that occurred on the weekend?
Yeah, so I'm looking at the document he provided. I just want to be clear. I'm looking at the activities and the calendars, but I looked at the 64 weeks that were provided, and approximately 17 of those had work travel. So back to that 26%. I also looked which of those followed or bled into a weekend. There was a lot that led into Fridays. I certainly understand that. But most of that seemed to still allow a full weekend. And then the other thing I just looked for or noticed was a percentage of travel that happened over his time in the current schedule on the 225.
Can you also speak very briefly? We had requested that the new schedule in a couple of weeks and tell them what's going on with your health. Why we made that request?
I originally, given that we're right smack at the tail end of the school year, had asked to start in the next school year. But the reason I asked to have a delay was I have been planning for several months around a condition that I have with a tumor in my ear that I need treatment at MD Anderson. And it's been very hard to corral all the doctors and care that is needed. And the proposed calendar and timing would present a very big challenge to that, both in the procedure and the recovery.
Your Honor, I'm going to object to relevance. We've never had an issue with starting it at the date requested by Ms. Throckmorton.
Oh,
You heard Mr. Samp say in his opening, and I'm trying to wrap up so that we can get the court time back, that this is about you and trying to align your calendar with Trisha's calendar, your girlfriend's calendar. And can you report why that sentiment is inaccurate? You're really trying to be child-centric. You're not trying to be parent-centric.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, this is about what the kids' wants and needs are. That Trisha's calendar and their desire to have some coordination with the other kids in this household and the other families is part of it. There are 4 kids in this household, but I am looking out first and foremost for my 2 sons, and the things that I referenced earlier are the key drivers of that. The Trisha part is one piece, and they went to Friday, same reasons I'm saying that, or week on, and even week on, week off, same reasons as the kids are the same age, the activity. So it is inaccurate because it is one piece of a multidimensional set of reasons that ultimately come back to what is best for the boys.
And ultimately, Ms. Throckmorton, is there anything that you think would be important for Judge Scheufer to know in making her decision that we haven't already discussed?
Ultimately, I want the same thing as the boys. I just want peace. It's been hard to have, and I understand why that is. I do not disrespect Mr. Throckmorton's career. I'm very happy for him, and I simply struggle with the limitations noted, especially when I have been told by him directly that this is his time for his career and his needs because everything else has been about mine.
Your Honor, at this time, I pass the witness, but I would ask for housekeeping if Diane can come on and let us know if she knows at what time she's going to be called in the other case so that we're respectful of her calendar.
all right. Ms. Arnette, what is your time?
I have notified that I'm testifying in this case, and they're working with the judge. They have not given me a specific time when I will come on. I'm to notify them when I'm finished, and hopefully they can wait, but I have not gotten any updates on a specific.
So you kind of think that if Mr. Sam was to cross-examine Ms. Throckmorton, you'd have enough time? Like that's
I
not
think
even.
it'll be okay. They have a 4-hour hearing.
Okay, perfect.
All right, Mr. Samp, let me just say, I didn't want to interrupt anything earlier, but I prefer that the parties and the lawyers remain on camera. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure.
All right, Mr. Samp, you may proceed.
I'm sorry, Mr. Samp, before you start, may I just ask who Hannah Smith is real quick? Because I am unclear on her role here.
She's my associate, Michelle. I'm sorry.
Okay,
She
that's
has-
okay. I just wanted, thank you very much.
Good morning, Ms. Throckmorton.
Hi.
Ms. Throckmorton, how long have you and Dad been practicing the 225 schedule?
Since the beginning of our divorce in 2017, 16, 17.
So approximately 7 years?
Yes, sir.
And how many issues did the two of you incur with that 225 schedule?
Ultimately, it's hard to say. There have been different times where we have had to juggle and enroll others for support due to various demands or needs. But in general, especially for many of the early years, it was fine. And it's not that it's broken, it's what could be better.
But did Mr. Throckmorton work with you to help you juggle those issues?
I think we both have had hits or misses there, sir.
Okay. And was this week on, week off during the school year your request?
The first time it was my request. The second time it came up with the boys, and Mr. Throckmorton actually came back to me with it, but I had not brought it up because honestly, after his first reaction over a year ago, which I cited earlier in my conversation with Miss Londgren, I did not think he would be open to it.
So do you understand that this is your motion for a week on, week off request for school year?
I do understand that, sir. And I'm saying that it was brought back up by the kids and the Mr. Throckmorton, at which time I had never wavered that that was what we wanted to move to when they went to middle school and high school. But because of the response of Mr. Throckmorton and the continued, I guess, lack of discussion around it, it wasn't until it came up in this past summer that we decided to pursue it.
I have to admit, I'm very confused. You stated that this was Mr. Throckmorton's idea?
I said that I originally brought it up, that he denied it, that the second time around, when they were heading into another school year and we had had a year under our belt of seeing how chaotic it was, that the boys, as well as Mr. Throckmorton, realized then and raised it, and we began a discussion around it.
And ultimately, this was you who filed this motion?
I did, because when we started those discussions, it very quickly turned into, sir, are you wanting to talk to him or me? You're turning, I'm trying to make sure. Is there something I'm missing? Sorry, I just saw you turn your,
You and me.
I just was making sure you turned your head. I'm just making sure I understand what.
My client's allowed to speak in my ear if he has something to tell me.
Okay, well, I just was trying to make sure that I had your attention and I understood your question. So could you repeat it?
I would like to, could I have the court repeat my last question?
Actually, the last question I see is ultimately, this was you who filed this.
A yes or no question, Mrs. Throckmorton.
Yes, it was me.
And you've testified that your partner is also partaking in a week on, week off school schedule. Is that correct?
Yes, they moved to Friday this year.
Did they move to that schedule before you filed this motion?
Yes, I'm trying to remember. We were both in discussions with our ex-husbands in similar times, but they were able to reach a resolution before, whereas Mr. Throckmorton and I went back and forth.
Okay, so would it be fair to say that this week off schedule with a Friday transfer would be accommodating for both you and your partner?
The schedule, yes,
Just
sure.
yes or no?
Yes.
Okay. Aware at this juncture that Mr. Throckmorton is on board with the idea of your request for a week on, week off school schedule?
Yes, I'm fully aware.
And in fact, when were you told that Mr. Throckmorton was on board with this week on, week off schedule?
Once again, from the very beginning, as we started to discuss this, it was not a question of week on, week off. It was a question of when the exchange day would happen and why.
So would you agree that Mr. Throckmorton's being open to this idea of week on, week off, which was your request, does not exactly fit this perception that he's a scorned partner that's trying to upend any of your requests?
No, I wouldn't.
You would not agree with that sentiment?
I wouldn't, and I have plenty of texts and emails to prove that that is not the case, especially when this is about the boys and it is what they want.
Let's talk about the boys. Did you speak with any of their coaches or extracurricular people involved with their extracurriculars?
No, and my ex-husband did that.
A simple no.
Sure.
Will suffice.
Sure, thank you. Yep.
Did you speak with their guidance counselor?
No,
Do you think that would have, in retrospect, been a good idea?
sure.
Your children are involved with extracurricular activities, correct?
Many.
Can you list those off?
Sure. They are involved in multiple sports. As I mentioned earlier, my oldest son is involved in a very active band at high school. My oldest is also involved in Young Men's Service League with myself, where we do frequent service hours, and he has obligations for leadership meetings. He has also participated multiple times in various extracurricular band performance groups that have had their primarily centered on Sundays. My youngest is in multiple sports, both through school and through extracurricular activities like Kung Fu. That's just a snapshot of, in addition to all their social engagements.
And do any of these extracurricular activities change what time the children would get home on a Friday?
Of course, they're a constant target and always at different times. No day protects that.
Now, currently, the two of you do week on, week off Friday transfer during the summer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree that children's schedules during the summer differ from their schedules during the school year?
Of course.
You also mentioned that holidays were a reason for why you wanted the Friday transfer. Is that correct?
Given the way that the holiday breaks with school begin and end, yes.
Changes June, July, and August, correct?
Yes.
And during school year, you are doing Friday exchanges based on your 225.
When they go back to him for the weekend, yes.
And over the course of these 7 years, has he made complaints to you about how that impeded his work travel and his ability to progress in his career trajectory?
Not specifically that I can recall.
And generally, who helps Mr. Throckmorton with the kids' care when he is unable to do so?
Generally, it's his wonderful mother.
And how frequently do you think she watches the boys, and how's your relationship with her?
My relationship is good. She's been nothing but loving and respectful since the divorce. The boys adore her, and she is frequently there, I would say almost every week. It doesn't mean that Todd's not there. She's just a very active presence in their lives.
And now that we have an agreement as of today that we're doing week on, week off, how does that change? Because he's had to do his work travel around the 225 schedule. So how many more work days is he going to now get based on this new agreement to do a week on, week off for travel?
I would assume that he would have 2 full weeks, if not almost in their entirety, to be able to do that. I can't see what the demands of his work schedule is. The majority of the work week is still very much in play.
So the boys asked to try out Friday to Friday and Sunday to Sunday. They asked to do a trial schedule to see what worked better. And what was Mr. Throckmorton's dilemma with agreeing to do a trial of each day?
So the objection is hearsay, and I'm going to sustain the objection.
I take the boys out, Your Honor. Does that cure it? Okay. If it just, you also were saying, can we do this trial? And what was Mr. Throckmorton's pushback on trying to do Fridays for a few months and then trying to do Sundays for a few months and see what worked better?
Initially, when we could not agree on the day, he asked me if I would be willing to try it. When I suggested a 13-week on, 13-week off, he said he changed his mind. I then came back and suggested that we just try Sunday for a period of time to see if it worked, and then evaluated through a mediator or through discussion together. And he wanted it in writing, no trial period.
And so Mr. Samp, kind of beat you up about the fact that we were trying to reach agreements to do potentially a Sunday date or a Monday date. And so I want to be crystallized for the court. We did try fervently to get this settled, but why at the end of the day were you unable to make that agreement? Why did you want to stick with the Fridays?
Ultimately, I still believe it's in the best interest of the boys for the reasons stated. It does not mean that it perfectly aligns with my partner, or will mean that we get to be part-time moms, which is what Mr. Throckmorton has repeatedly said to me. It is simply a matter of being the best for the boys for the reasons that I stated. And when we could not reach an agreement, it became obvious that I might just stick with what I ultimately believe is best for the boys.
And is to say that you don't want to capitulate like you always do. You want to take a stand for the benefit of your children.
I ultimately am doing to make the kids a priority. First, my own and the other kids in this household as well. And I simply, at some point, lose my sanity and being able to have any clarity because of the endless back and forth that occur between me and Mr. Throckmorton.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Throckmorton, a few questions. 1 second, I'm just waiting for my client. Did you ever text Mr. Throckmorton on March 4th stating, I offered Sunday to Sunday, but you wanted forever?
Because that's what agreed. Yes, I did. I text.
So that was back on March 4th. And then you offered it Sunday to Sunday as recently as.
Yes.
Okay.
For all the reasons stated.
And I know we touched on this before. You just touched on it again. You would agree that your children's summer schedule would differ greatly than their school schedule, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And are you currently employed, Ms. Throckmorton?
I am. That was incorrect earlier.
Okay. And do you work on Fridays?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And what's your schedule?
I mean, it's pretty consistently, especially because I have a heavy West Coast concentration. I'll start at 8. I'll sometimes end at 6. It depends, but I have a certain degree of autonomy to, as long as I get work done, to do what I need to do.
So you're on West Coast time?
I'm saying my busiest times are starting around 10 and to 6 because of the coast, but that I have a certain degree of autonomy.
Okay. I want to touch on that just a little bit. West Coast, 5 o'clock would be what time here?
It's 7, but I don't work until then.
Okay. But you work until 6.
My work calendar varies based on meetings, but I just said I have a high degree of autonomy.
How often do you work on Sundays?
Usually just in preparation for the weekend. So, but nothing required, if you will. I have an occasional conference or work travel, but to this point, I just started my new job in January after being laid off. So it's too soon to tell, sir.
And
further
you
questions?
said, hang on, you said that you work generally 8 to 6. Is that Monday through Friday?
Yes, ma'am. Sir, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, did you?
Yeah, no further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Ms.
All right.
Lundergan, anything else?
No, ma'am.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and take our morning break. It's 10:31. We're gonna break until about 10.
At this time, I would call Diane Arnette.
All right.
Yes, I have a master's degree in counseling, and I have an undergraduate degree in social work.
And so you do a lot of work with court-involved families. For how many years have you been doing this work within the family court system?
Approximately 7 for testifying.
And how many families do you think up to this point have you worked with?
I have probably testified for about 50 families. I've worked with many more families than that, in the hundreds, about this sort of issue, the dual household living.
And at what point did you have an opportunity to meet Mr. and Mrs. Throckmorton? How many years ago?
The first time I met them was May of.
Okay. And what has been your role for this family?
I've primarily worked with Thomas and Turner, their sons.
And how many sessions have you had with Thomas?
26,
And how many sessions have you had with Turner?
21.
And do you know how many sessions or how many conversations you've had with Miss Throckmorton?
I've had probably about 3 in person, maybe 4 in person, and I've had many phone calls. Miss Throckmorton makes the appointments for the boys. She calls, and sometimes she'll give me a brief update about their challenges, what's going on at school or sports or with family. And yes.
And so your role with court-involved families is usually in the role of co-parenting therapist, family systems therapist, or child therapist. Are there other roles that you sometimes take within the system?
Ma'am, that's a good summary. I do. I work with the parents as well, trying to make compromises between the two households to make it functional. I'm primarily an advocate for the children, always, an advocate for children.
And how many of these sessions, since you have worked with the family for so long, how many have been in the last 9 months in reference to this issue that the court has before her?
I've probably had about 6 appointments, and I had a few more with Turner just recently this year. I've seen him twice since commenced.
So can you, briefly explain to Judge Schleifer a little bit about Thomas's personality as you see it as a therapist involved with
Yes, yes, ma'am. Well, Thomas is polite. He is respectful. He's thoughtful. He's insightful, and he's gentle. He's very kind-hearted, gentle. He's very respectful of his friends and adults. I would say he's more introverted. In comparing the two boys, they're very different. And Thomas is more introverted than Turner. And Thomas really tries to keep the peace in the family. I'd say he's, tries to mediate a little bit.
And then also, can you give the court a flavor for Turner?
I add what Thomas is, he's very intelligent, and he is so dedicated to his instrument in the band and in orchestra. He loves to study about it. He did a French horn, although he plays, I think he can play more than one instrument actually, but the band is incredibly important to him.
I'm sorry. Are we talking about Thomas still, or have you gone on to Turner?
Yes, ma'am. No, we're still talking about Thomas.
Thank you.
Thomas is also a track. He's participated in track, and that's really important to him. He has also mentioned he calls it a charity group, sort of, his public service that he does. But that's how he references. And I didn't realize until today how demanding that was until I heard Ms. Throckmorton's testimony. Now, Turner is, I call him ambassador too. He is the one that brings his friends together. Although he's had some, conflict. He's shorter in stature, and his friends sometimes have teased him about that. But he handles it with grace and integrity. And that's why I call him the ambassador, because he doesn't let it get the best of him. He's more outspoken, but he also is reluctant to cause conflict. He's a jiu-jitsu participant, and he's striving to get his black belt, and he is determined. He told me about 2 sessions ago, I'm going to get my black belt. It's just a matter of time. And he's 100% dedicated to that. He struggles a little more in school. His interest is friends, and he sometimes lets the assignments get the best of him. He gets behind in them, but he also feels really proud when he does well. And he reported a good last semester, and he said he's starting strong, and that was one of his goals.
And how do they describe their relationship with Trisha's kids?
And I'm kind of surprised that there's any conflict whatsoever. They both have said how much they want Avery and Chase there, and they like Avery and Chase. And there's, quote unquote, they said, no problems. Each child has her own room. They said everybody's happy with their own room. The issues from the past are no longer an issue, and they like them. They want them there. They go to
Objection hearsay.
Overruled.
An expert, she can testify to what they
the
say.
therapist only has.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. In Zoom, when y'all speak at the same time as someone else, I completely lose all of the whatever someone's trying to say. And Ms. Lonergan, because your volume is down lower than everyone else's, don't worry about it. I'm able to hear you. It's just if anyone else talks, it immediately cuts you off, and I won't be able to capture that. So I just wanted y'all to remember that Zoom is its own weird animal. Thank you.
I will try to speak louder. How do they describe their mom's house to you?
Calm and peaceful are words that were recently used.
And how do they describe their relationship with their mama?
They get along with her really well. They can talk to her. They feel like she listens to them. They feel like she tries to accommodate their needs and be flexible. They were incredibly worried about her when she was injured in a car accident. And I imagine this new issue is probably causing them concern, although I didn't know about it till today.
And how do they describe their relationship with Mr. Throckmorton?
Both parents provide fun activities. They both go on adventurous vacation. They take friends along with them. They provide a beautiful home. transportation, healthy food. And in that regard, it's, equal, I'd say, in both households. The children describe more conflict with their father. They say things like, I'm really reluctant to say because I'm fearful that it could have backlash on them, but they have trust issues with their father. They're concerned about his overreactivity sometimes. When they bring a concern, they feel like they can't speak as honestly to him because it's considered disrespectful. So one of them said to me, which is pretty heart-wrenching, I worry I hurt my parents' feelings when I honor my own needs. And that influence comes more from Dad's house.
Objection relevance, Your Honor. The parents,
Go ahead.
whether or not the parents are good parents wasn't brought up in this case. This is strictly about which day the children should be transferred.
So the objection is overruled to the extent that Mr. Throckmorton argues that the boys don't care about what day or about the schedule. I think it's important that I hear from Miss Arnette about her perception of how they behave around each parent and what she knows about their preferences.
In regard to this specific topic of which day, Thomas has said he's tried to talk to his dad, and Dad's not open to negotiations, is the way he said it. Now, they did express, if you want to talk about that topic, they did express back in the fall the desire for Friday because of their activities. Thomas especially, because of band. Band is incredibly demanding. And he was in a football game every Friday night, almost every Friday night. And they stay at school and they participate in the games in late, the games in particularly late if they travel to another field. And to come home, it's just easier on a Friday to make the transition. Just sometimes they go out to eat afterwards and it's late night. And then recently, both kids just say, we want peace. We don't want to be in the middle. We don't want to choose one parent over another parent. We just want peace. And the truth is, I think the two boys talked about it because their words were, even though I met separately, almost identical to one another. And Turner has not had the demands on his schedule that Thomas has, because Thomas is older. Academically, it's harder. Thomas is exhausted. And he's said that the last several times he's been in, and he looks exhausted. And his face is broken out in acne from, I would assume, teenage stress. I mean, yes, teenagers have it. I'm a physician. I'm not claiming to diagnose him, but he looked exhausted, tired, and he's pressured. He has a lot of pressure on him. Turner, less so. His activities are less demanding. And Turner was supportive of Thomas last fall, though Friday would be better. And last two sessions, I don't know if they're feeling more pressure from their parents or pressure between the households, but they both said the last two sessions, we just want peace. We're not going to say which way we like better.
And so let me ask you a general question, not specific to this family. Like, as a child therapist or a co-parenting therapist, family therapist, do you have an opinion about what days are better for an exchange, given the fact that you work with so many divorced families?
And I would say Friday is the day, because these transitions are hard on the kids. And I think parents forget that even though they've been doing it for a long time, even though they love both parents, even though they know both parents love them. And by the way, I am not being critical of that each parent isn't a good parent. They have very different styles. Mr. Throckmorton is more authoritarian. Miss Throckmorton is more autocratic. Kids typically prefer that, the second. But as far as, I'm sorry, lost my train of thought. Say the question again.
The question about, like, taking this family aside in
yes.
general with the court and both families that you work for, tell the court the reasons why you think Fridays are better than Sundays.
Okay. I'm sorry to talk over her. I apologize. I know better than that. Okay. So it is actually Friday for the reason that I said the transitions are hard on kids. And though they love their parents, love them, the rules. Remember, they have a set of rules at dad's house, a set of rules at mom's house, and a set of rules at school. And if they go anywhere else, there's another rule at jujitsu, at band, at school. And that's a lot of transition for kids. So the weekends are downtime. They're more relaxing. It gives them a chance to just let their hair down. And if they have any assignments to do them at one house, have all their supplies there. Hopefully that they bring with them everything they need. And then they start fresh on Monday at the new school week. And I will tell you, that is the preferred for every child who does week on, week off. The little ones, very different. Pre-kindergartner schedules are the typically 2-2-5s, and it's much more important for them to have those briefer visits. But as far as days, it's unanimous. That's the preferred in my cases.
And if Judge Schleifer decides not to do Fridays, we've also argued in the alternative for Mondays. Do you believe that Mondays are better than Sundays at 5 p.m.?
Yes, ma'am. And the reason I say that is it usually whoever had the parent had them on the weekend takes them to school on Monday, then the other parent picks them up Monday after school, or they take the bus home to that parent. Sundays, if you do a Sunday visit, it eliminates any weekend trip. Say they want to go with their friends on a camping trip and they have to be back at Sunday at a specific time. And all their stuff's at one house and they have to come home and they got to shower and they got to get ready and they got to be at the other house. Something along those lines is difficult. Or, finishing up schoolwork. So yes, I would say Monday be second choice.
And then I asked you in generalities, is there anything that you haven't already said, potentially specifically about the Throckmorton family, that would make you believe that Fridays are better than Sundays?
I think it's their the kids' demanding schedule. And honestly, they've kind of flipped on, they're just saying, just peace, just peace. I do know they want peace between their parents. And they know it's stressing their parents out. They can feel it. They can see it. They're not blind to it. And they're old enough to notice. And they don't want their parents to be stressed. And they don't want to be the source of the stress, 100%. So I would say it has to do with their academic demands. And that's the emphasis on Thomas, of course. But Turner's not far behind him. And I don't know what Turner will do in high school. He hasn't projected that yet. But it will be a similar thing. He'll be demanding. They're at demanding schools. And they're in very competitive schools. Vandergrift has just skyrocketed in respect. And their Vandergrift band is one of the best in the state. They win at Bands of America in San Antonio almost every year. And they got to go to that parade. That's an honor. So they're going to continue to do well.
And do you have an opinion, Ms. Arnette, in terms of this issue with the households? Because you do a lot of blended families and family systems therapy, about the schedule somewhat tracking similarly to Ms. Throckmorton's partner. Do you believe that, do you see that being helpful for the family, or what are your thoughts?
The children prefer it. And I mean, they have said that in recent, in the last 4 sessions, because I always ask about school, extracurricular, friendships, how's it going at home? How's it going at each home? And specifically with Trisha and Trisha's kids. And they're reporting it's no problem. That's what they do. So, I trust in what they say. I don't discuss it with the parents.
Have the boys in any of these sessions that you've done ever talked about difficulty not seeing their parents due to work travel? Has that ever been a topic of discussion?
They have expressed that it occurs, but they haven't expressed any duress about it. Mr. Throckmorton's mother is called Grand Bear, and they love Grand Bear. And they love when Grand Bear's at the house. And, like a grandparent relationship is just, I call it a love fest. It's a win, and it's great for everybody involved. And they're respectful of her. They speak so highly of her, and they're happy when she's there. Not that they're happier that she's there than Dad, but they're okay with it. And truthfully, I thought she was there pretty much every Monday and Tuesday in the way they talk. I may be completely wrong on that, but.
At this time, Hannah, I believe it's petitioner 6, but can you throw up Ms. Arnette's CV? Don't know if there's any, since she's worked with a family for so long. At this time, I'd like to have petitioner 6, which is Ms. Arnette's CV to be admitted into evidence.
No objection.
Ma'am, that is an old version, and there's a lot more education on there in reality than that represents. And I will be happy to get you a new updated CV.
Can you, and I'm sorry, we're using an older one. Can you very briefly tell the court what additional education you've done since the time of this?
Under related experience, I have probably, and a continuing education, have hundreds of hours. And the emphasis that I have been focusing on is the AFCC program and co-parenting and high conflict, dual household living since then. And it's substantial. It's probably hundreds of hours. We have a continuing education requirement of 30 hours a year, and I usually get double that easily.
And at what point was there a shift? I understand that they were coming and saying they wanted Fridays when they were meeting with you in session. At what point did they stop saying, well, we just want peace? And
The last two sessions, they have changed completely.
why do you think potentially, you said it might be parental pressure? I'm sorry, you're moving around on my screen, but do you have any sense based on what they tell you about why they may have shifted to being adamant about Fridays to then just saying we want this to be resolved amicably? Do you think that it's a particular parent?
I would say the pressure is coming from dad, but the conversations have happened with both parents about this topic. And the last two sessions, they changed dramatically. And that's when I said the boys they obviously talked about it because their words were virtually identical.
Is there anything else that you think it's important for Judge Schleifer to hear today as it relates to this issue of Fridays versus Sundays?
Judge, Your Honor, I always defer to what is best for the children. The children didn't destroy their family. They didn't disrupt their cohesive lifestyle. And I believe it is important that the parents accommodate the children. You only have them a few more years, and you can do whatever you want the rest of your time. I'm not minimizing how important a career move is or an advancement, but these children's lifestyle is hard going back and forth, in addition to their difficult academic and in addition to their difficult extracurriculars, that they are allowed to develop their own skills that they will need for life, that they will need for college, and that should be the priority. That's my philosophy.
I pass the witness.
Good morning. Can you please explain your exact involvement with this case?
I began working with the children and the parents in May of 2019. I met the parents first, and it was several months later that I met the children. And primarily I've worked with the children. Like I said, I met jointly with Todd and Gwen at the beginning. I conferred with both of them at the beginning on their perspectives. And then the shift came to working with the children. And I work with Thomas individually and Turner individually, and occasionally the two of them together. But that was rare.
And what would be your specific role?
Well, I'm a marriage and family therapist. And so my goal has been with the children is to work on the challenges they have, what they face in school, with friendships, with dual household living transition back and forth, with the relationship with Trisha and with her children, Chase and Avery, and both parents. Really every element of their life that causes them challenges, we focus on that primarily, but then also honor their successes.
And how often do you testify in court as to your recommendations for transitioning from a 2-2-5 schedule to a week-on, week-off schedule?
Well, honestly, as a marriage and family therapist, I don't make direct recommendations to the court. I tell the narratives that I've heard and report the children's perspective, and sometimes the parents' perspective, of course, too, and leave it to the judge and the lawyers to negotiate what's best for the children. I present what I think is best for the children from their own words.
Approximately how many cases have you had where there was a transition from a 2-2-5 to a week-on, week-off schedule?
I would guess 30. 2-2-5 usually is accommodating young children, preschoolers, toddlers, infants. Sometimes infants are 2-day, 2-day, 2-day. I have one right now that alternates that frequently. but it's less than 1-year-old child. And so as the kids get older, we transition typically to week on, week off. I'm not exaggerating when I say every child above 6 years old that I have worked with, prefer week on, week off. So I'm glad that that's established and that's not a discussion point anymore. And that is even a 6-year-old single little girl expressed preference and her parents made that adjustment.
So through your period of time working with these children, did you ever express with dad that the children should move from the 2-2-5 schedule to week on, week off?
Yes, Todd and I talked about that. Excuse me, Mr. Throckmorton and I talked about that very early on. And we met in 2019 and 2021 in person. And I recall him saying that was offered at the beginning. But I remember the kids, of course, are younger. And they agreed on 2-2-3. Truthfully, I didn't know work was an issue. I thought that they agreed on 2-2-3 because of age and the novelty of the new experience. So they could continue to see each parent often. They also live close by one another. So it wasn't going to be, burdensome long time in a car. But I talked to Todd and Gwen about moving, when you move forward to, consider that. I talked to every parent about that because this constant transitioning is a challenge for kids. Some days they don't even know which house they're supposed to go to. Some days they go to the wrong house on the wrong bus. Not these kids in particular, but that has happened with the.
Well, let's talk about that. You said in these circumstances, there are challenges such as some days they don't know how to get on the wrong bus. Wouldn't you agree, and especially with extracurricular activities, wouldn't you agree that a Sunday transition would eliminate that confusion versus a Monday morning or a Friday evening?
No, I'm talking about 2-2-5 is confusing. When they were doing 2-2-5, it's such a frequent transition that it's difficult for the kids to keep it straight. I'm not referring to week on, week off. Week on, week off is the children I work with prefer Friday.
So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. In every one of your cases, the transition from 2-2-5 goes to a Friday evening transition week off.
It's a process. So I have a family that tried Sunday, they tried Monday, they tried Thursday, and they landed on Friday. But yes, that is the preferred day. And sometimes it takes 3 or 4 attempts to get it to that. But that's where they land, especially if they have to pack up more things to take. And I'll say typically that's girls who want the certain outfit and certain makeup. Boys less so, carry back more equipment. But they do have sports equipment that they have to carry back and forth.
Well, that kind of let me first bring you back to my initial question. So it's your statement here today that every single one of your cases that has transitioned from 2-2-5 has landed on Friday evening transitions.
That's right.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that there can be a lot of stress involved with these extracurricular activities. Is that correct?
I would say demands and stress in the sense of they have a lot of rehearsals. They have to be on time. They have to remember to get all their equipment in there. And so I would say it's a high level of demand.
And would you agree that a lot of these extracurriculars happen during school days?
I think they happen on school days and weekends. I know band competitions are all over the city and frequently all day Saturdays.
Would it be fair to say that if you added a family transition on top of a school day, on top of all those extracurricular activities, it would add to more stress with that child's day?
I would 100% say it's the opposite. It's the wind down day. It's the weekend, relief. Friday, we get there and it's just let your hair down and sleep, hopefully sleep late from the late Friday night activity and then transition into the weekend. So I think it's a stress reliever. I think it's a stress reliever also to be on a consistent day.
You mentioned that there were certain days when the children are supposed to be with father, but grandbear was there instead.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that was a positive experience, but wouldn't you think it would be preferable to have their actual parent there versus the grandparent?
Like I said, I'm not being disparaging towards Mr. Throckmorton in any way. but they love their grandmother, and they have not lamented, I believe, was something that Miss Lonergan asked, is have they ever complained about dad being working? They know both of their parents have a high demanding career. Both of them do. They're accustomed to them both traveling. They're accustomed to them both working and valuing their career and role modeling that.
Did you not say earlier that Grand Bear is also present other days of the week?
Grand Bear, I don't know what day. I kind of got the impression that it was a usual Monday, Tuesday thing, but I also said I can't swear to that. They love having her there. That doesn't mean they love having her there more than dad. She's been their typical stand-in babysitter when dad has to travel.
Correct. And I understand that it's your statement that every family that you've been involved with lands on a Friday transfer. But if, in your professional opinion, if landing on a Friday transfer means that the children are going to be spending time more with Grand Bear on that day than on a different day where their father can be present, wouldn't that impact your recommendation?
I don't think it's simple black or white, sir. I think it is, Grand Bear is a benefit to them. She is not a deterrent in any way. They love having her. It's a special relationship. Does it mean dad isn't? The way I think they feel like they have a lot of time with dad and a lot of time with mom. And if one of them needs to be gone for a day, they're not lost without their parent. They jump right into Grand Bear just like they jump into the transition back and forth.
Well, I find it concerning, and I agree with you that it's not black and white, and that's my concern. I believe that every set of circumstances is specific to that family, and I do think that all of those circumstances need to be considered. And it appears to me that your recommendation is coming in light of the fact that father may not be around on a Friday due to his work schedule, and you would agree with that statement.
That's multiple comments at one time. I don't know what Todd's travel schedule is. I have never talked to him about the details of it. I do know he travels. I know Gwen, Miss Throckmorton travels some too. I don't know the details of either one's schedule. I'm not saying it's a good idea to replace. I'm also making the recommendation only by expressing the children's preference. I'm not recommending it from even my professional as much as I am from advocating for what the children want, especially Thomas. And so I do think it's the best day in the sense of it's an easy transition. There's no homework to do on Friday night. There's no big household project that's going to be done on Friday. And typically, there's not, it's the end of whatever they're doing. It's not the beginning of whatever they're doing. Sometimes Friday night might be hard if there's an early morning band competition. That's the only example that I have that I can imagine where Friday night might be hard if they need to get up early Saturday. And I don't know if parents make accommodations to that sort of thing or not.
You mentioned that you don't know Mr. Throckmorton's work schedule. Are you aware of mom's work schedule?
No, I just said I don't know their travel schedule. I learned more about it today listening to the testimony from Miss Throckmorton than I've ever heard.
Do you know how long Ms. Throckmorton has been employed at her current position?
Yes, she said January, and she mentioned that to me when she got a job. She was applying for it and then that she got it. And I asked her if she got it.
If you found out that mom or dad's work schedule could cause difficulties with a Friday visitation, would that be something that you would factor into your recommendation?
Well, listening to the testimony today, and perhaps it's going to be corrected by Mr. Throckmorton, it sounds like it has not been, Friday hasn't been an issue for transition day. And if he is coming in on a Friday, say at 5 o'clock, that shouldn't be a problem, especially for Thomas, he's going to stay in the fall for sure. And I'm not sure his spring schedule when, I think he's in track this spring when their competitions are, but usually things are winding down. These kids are also old enough to stay by themselves on Friday evening till dad gets home, and they don't get out of school and get situated till about 5 o'clock anyway.
My question was, if you were told that there was a conflict because of the employment of the parents, would that be something that you would factor into your recommendation?
Objection asked and answered.
Overruled.
Okay, so I'm assuming he's traveling on a Friday is what I'm imagining you to say.
Just a very general question. You find out that the parents have a conflict because of employment due on that Friday visitation. Is that going to impact your recommendation?
If it were on a regular basis, yes, I would consider that. If it's a once in a while, I wouldn't think, I think there's accommodations can be made. Because that happens to all parents all the time. They have to work late. Something comes up. Grandmother gets sick. They've got to go take, I mean, there's endless reasons while there's a shift in schedule on day-to-day basis. It's not just work. But if it were regular, I think that's a bigger issue.
You said that, I believe you said that Friday or Monday would be better for taking a weekend trip. Is that accurate?
Sure, kids get out of school on Friday, and typically, I'm not sure I understand your question, but yes, for Friday, a Friday transition or a Monday transition, and not simply because of a trip, but a trip is excluded on a weekend where there's a Sunday, an early Sunday transition, because you get out of school Friday at 5:00, you can't go very far and come back in time to get back for that transition. It's not just arrive and drop the kids off at the new home. It's arrive at home, unpack the car or the suitcases, and readjust and reboot for the transition. So for many reasons, I think Sunday is hard.
Are you aware that the Sunday request is for Sunday evening?
At 5:00, it's pretty early. But I think if you do a Sunday transition, it needs to be that early because they got to get in the gear for school and get in the mindset of the different parenting styles, rules, household, how things are done. So yes, I think they need transition time.
What about if the family wanted to take a traditional 3-day weekend? Wouldn't it be beneficial for them to have a transition period on a Sunday evening so the parties could be with the parent on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday versus having a transfer on a Friday and one parent having to leave for that weekend trip, even just a weekend trip after 5?
Well, typically they're in school Friday, so it wouldn't be a 3-day. If they did Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they'd have to take off school, which at their age is not appropriate during the school year. For the weekend, for the summer, I think that's great. But if it were going to be leave Friday at 5:00 and you got to be back Sunday at 5:00, you can't go very far, and that's fine. It's a limitation you're setting on a weekend transition for a Sunday. That's only I'm noting it for anybody, not specifically for this family.
So you did note that there has been a flip-flop with the children over your last few sessions. Do you think there's a chance that this could be because they know their mother's new employment schedule?
No, they just want peace between the households. They didn't express anything about their mother's work schedule, and nor do I know it. They just want peace. They can feel the tension of the parents, and they feel stuck in the middle, and they don't want to be the ones to decide.
Have you discussed with mother the Friday transition period?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware as to mother wanting a Sunday visitation period, transition period as recent as March, well, from March 4th through yesterday?
Miss Throckmorton told me she's conceding because she wants peace also.
So you spoke with Ms. Throckmorton about this issue?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, I did.
As recent as when?
It's been a couple, January, maybe.
Okay.
I think it was January, maybe February. I don't know when she changed her mind and told you she changed her mind, but she told me she called and said, is this even worth it to fight for this, for the boys?
Would you concede that if both parents were recommending Sunday visitation and the children are saying they simply want peace, that Sunday visitation would be a good option for this family?
I think Thomas wanted Friday, and the reason he flipped was because the parents were stressed. So I think the children are parenting their parents. We call that parentification, when they're taking the emotional needs of the parents over their own.
If both parents agreed on Sunday because that fit their schedules and they believed it was in the best interest of their children, would you be on board with that?
Well, if they did believe it was in the best interest of the children, yes, but in this case, that has not been expressed.
No further questions.
Honor, I also pass this witness.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Arnette. You are excused.
Thank you. Good luck to you all.
All right, Ms. Lonergan.
Your Honor, at this time, I would rest.
All right, Mr. Stamp, you may call your first witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to call Todd Throckmorton. Mr. Throckmorton, up until this point, what possession schedule have you been following?
225.
And how has that possession schedule been going?
I mean, I think for the most part, it's worked out well. I think that Mrs. Gwen and I, Mrs. Throckmorton, have worked well to accommodate each other's schedule. It's been sufficient. I certainly recognize a need for a change due to the kids.
And who approached who about switching to a week on, week off schedule?
That was Gwen.
And when did Gwen approach you about the week on, week off schedule?
The second time was about 8 or 9 months ago. As Gwen alluded to, the first time due to the local work schedule and what was going on, the 225 worked best, and certainly open to and want to accommodate a week off schedule.
Did she explain to you her rationale for wanting to go on to a week on, week off schedule?
To the best of recollection, and I think as per our discussions, it was easier for the kids.
And when she approached you about it, were you open to it?
Absolutely.
Do you have, or once she approached you with this and you told her that you were open to it, did she suggest a specific day for transition?
Well, that's when she suggested Fridays, and that's what she was really promoting for. Yes.
Do you have any reason to know why she chose Friday specifically?
What she shared with me was that due to her work schedule, due to the kids' existing schedule, and the transition with Chase and Avery made it easier for them and for the kids.
So do you have reason to believe that her partner's possession and access schedule changed recently?
Honestly, I don't know enough other than talking to the other father that they had agreed to a Friday to Friday because his new wife, they were trying to promote something like that. And he was just trying to agree and make it easy. He says he doesn't travel. It's easy for his schedule.
So to your knowledge, mom's partner recently switched to a week on, week off, Friday to Friday schedule.
That's correct.
And is it of your opinion that mother was choosing that day out of convenience for her?
Yes, it is.
When she approached you with that Friday week off transition date, did you tell her that Friday would work?
Maybe just to give a little bit of background on what I shared with her is that my new job role caused my travel schedule to be on a more national basis rather than just regional. And so what that did was cause more travel for me coming back typically. And what I try to do, due to the current 225 schedule, is schedule a trip from Wednesday through Friday so I can meet with clients and prospects. And shared with her that is a challenge for me because I have had travel delays. I've had bad weather, canceled flights, delayed meetings on Fridays that would cause me to come in late to be a part of my children's activities. And that's important to me.
Now, the two of you currently practice a week on, week off schedule with Friday transitions during the summer. Is that not true?
That is correct.
Now, why does this transition period work for you during the summer versus during the school year?
Just the clientele that I meet with, both prospects and clients, the amount of summer travel or business meetings during the summer drops off significantly. And so really the prime times that I am meeting with the prospects and clients are in the fall and in the spring.
And how often do you travel for work on a Sunday?
Never.
I'd like to draw attention to respondents exhibit R1. Now, Mr. Throckmorton, can you describe for the court what we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, this is my typical monthly calendar. Anything that's yellow, those are travel days that are back to back, multiple days in a row. It doesn't signify any types of day trips that I might have if I'm doing a quick in and out or back and forth real quick, but these are just really showing shoulder dates of when I would be traveling. It doesn't show all of the appointments that I might have throughout the day and how long they might last.
And when on those day trips that you just described, are those trips where you could still encounter flight delays or traffic delays or anything of that sort?
Yes, and appointment delays. And just to put a little color around that is that my clientele is in the private equity space. A lot of times I would say similar to being in court, there's different delays that happen, and it's imperative that we still meet with them, but it might push the time back. It could be as little as 15 minutes. It could be 2 hours. You just don't know.
And you currently schedule these trips to the best of your ability at times when you don't have your children?
Yes, I want to be very active with both my boys' scholastic and extracurricular activities.
So if you had a week on, week off schedule, would it be better for you to plan all those travel days on a week when you don't have your children?
Yes, absolutely.
Would that throw a wrench in your travel week if every Friday you've got to transition with your children?
It would certainly make it difficult because I've got to work to the needs of what the client might want to do. And so a big part of what I'm doing is project managing, bringing in other talent to help us execute on an engagement for one of our private equity clients. You don't know what might pop up at any given moment. And so if you don't have to have a travel, I guess, impediment, it would certainly be helpful in being more productive. And I think more importantly, though, is just knowing that I can be there for the kids' football games. I can be there for the after school activities. I can be a part of planning their weekend as they're going into an event, wanting to spend time with their friends and being active and participatory as you go into the weekend.
Now, with your current 2-2-3 schedule, has there ever been an extracurricular event that has caused an issue on a Sunday?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Are the two of you currently working with each other in order to maybe make leniencies regarding the schedule if there's an extracurricular event?
Very much so. And that's why I'm surprised to hear some of the comments by Ms. Throckmorton and her counsel about the tone in which we work together, because as an example, as Ms. Dr. Arnette just mentioned, Thomas is very proud of his YSML, and that is an activity that he is very engaged in with his mom. I get it. I want my children. I'm not a barrier to them spending time with their mom. They spend time together, even when it's on a weekend that I might have Thomas. And that could be anywhere from a full day to a half day to maybe just a couple of hours. But I've certainly recognized that value and that importance in what both Thomas and his mom get out of that time together. So I think that, and Gwen, I think, has been very accommodating to me as well. We try and work with each other's schedule. At least that's what I found historically.
So when you heard testimony earlier from Gwen stating that the two of you have a very contentious relationship, especially revolving the possession and access of the children, is that what you understand it to be?
I think there's a lot of misinterpretation and tonality that might come across in text. And I've tried to share with Gwen, look at this as if she's a big sports fan. She likes football. Hey, look at this as if we're talking about the statistics and what's going on in football. Let's have a conversation and work it out. And I think she and Ms. Lonergan mentioned equating her to a general. I look at it as being she's very regimented in how she wants to proceed and how she wants to communicate. And I said that in the tonality. It is, you're very regimented and structured in how you want to move forward with this. And I think her tone, I try and be very amicable. I'm not sure how she's interpreting it, but this is how our conversations ensue whenever we're having a talk, just like this.
Your request for the court today, is this based on any kind of scorn towards her leaving you?
Absolutely not.
Is this based on any kind of hatred towards her new relationship?
No, absolutely not.
Have you ever expressed to mom that this was the basis for any of this?
No.
Has she ever expressed to you throughout this process that she believes that this was the basis for any of this?
Frequently.
Now, back to your schedule, Exhibit R1. You stated that, the trips are in yellow, but that you may have day trips that would not be shown on here.
That's correct.
Okay. Would you agree that on certain days, such as Tuesday, the 4th of April on this first page, that if you expanded that day, you would have 8 events on that day?
Correct.
Okay.
And just to expand on that real quick in your line of questioning is, like, let's say on Friday the 7th, one of those appointments It could be something that I went down to Houston and came back that same day. I knew I didn't need 2 or 3 days to block that out.
Well, you read my mind. That was going to be my next question. But you heard Ms. Lonergan say that you travel at most 25% of the time on a Friday. Is that an accurate reflection of when you'd be traveling?
No. My role now takes me coast to coast. And I've also had some international travel. So it's very up in the air. And if anything, by having this week on, week off schedule, which Ms. Throckmorton also agrees, I think would certainly make it easier for both of us. It's just the Sunday transition so that I can still be involved with the kids' activities and not miss the opportunity to afford them the opportunity to go out and have fun and go skiing like we did last week. Takes a lot of pressure off.
Your Honor, I'd like to admit Exhibit R1 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
R1 is admitted.
Mr. Throckmorton, were you aware of Mother's current employment schedule prior to today?
No. I knew she'd gotten a job, but I didn't know in what capacity or how long it's been.
So you don't know when she began her employment?
I do not.
So there's a chance that she began this employment after she made this motion to move on from week on, week off?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think then that there's a chance that this is why Mother was amenable to Sunday transfers?
Quite possibly.
Now, you heard the therapist state that on Fridays, sometimes Grand Bear is there instead of you. Can you describe to the court who Grand Bear is?
Oh, that's my mom.
Okay. And why would Grand Bear be there on Fridays instead of you?
Well, there's been canceled flights, and specifically there was one where coming back from New York, flight was canceled, layover in Dallas, so I couldn't get there until the following day. And so, you know, while Miss Arnette may say that the kids are old enough to stay on their own, you know, as a parent, I want to be a part of that. I want to be there with them. And I certainly don't feel like they're old enough to be at the home by themselves overnight.
Now, do the children see Grand Bear when you are around?
Yes. Miss Arnette is accurate. Every Monday, Tuesday, it's just as much a treat for Grandmare to be there fixing dinner and being a part of the boys' lives and being a matriarch for the kids as it is for them. I mean, it makes them both feel great. Very blessed to have her in my life.
Now, on those Fridays when you're not there and Grand Bear is helping watch your children, would you rather spend your time with your children?
Absolutely. I want to be participating in all of their activities and after school activities and the next morning, whatever that might be.
So, in your opinion, that is why you're suggesting the Sunday transitions?
Well, certainly work is a part of it. I look at the kids and I can only say from the conversations that we've had is that they're amenable to either. And that a Sunday, I see all of us at Trisha and Gwen's household, as well as my household, is a time of family being together in the evening and having dinner time together. There's no stress about school activities going on. There's no carpool activities going on. Talking with the boys and observing my own family, I can't predict what goes on with Gwen's household, but Sunday's our time to barbecue and hang out and laugh and unwind the week before going into the weekend. And there's no stress of carpooling back and forth. There's no stress of maybe Thomas having a band event that's in, let's say, Llano, and they don't get back until 2 a.m. that have to be picked up and then brought back home. And then no stress of getting up the next early for a band activity that might be taking place outside of town. They just get up and go to school the next day. So while I've heard certainly a lot of hearsay about the kids, all I can say is, from my perspective, is that they're amenable to either.
Now, have you ever reprimanded either of your children when they speak to you about a preference of transitional periods?
No, not at all. And as a matter of fact, when Thomas had the conversation with me, I applauded him for the amount of strength to be able to come in and have a conversation and tell me what he wants and what he desires. And I told him I would totally respect that. I get that Friday may be his day that he wants to transition. And I shared with him, just as we're having a conversation like this, tonality, and if we could bring him in as witness, I think he would say the same thing, is that I want to be a part of their lives. I don't want to miss out on activities due to travel. And as a father and as a parent, what does work best for me and what I see working best for the kids is a Sunday to Sunday schedule. And I said it just like that. I said that it would be easier without having to lug your equipment, lug your school gear, lug your backpack, your equipment back and forth, when you can do that on a Monday without having to stress about what other stuff you might need to be taking to your mom's at 1 o'clock or maybe 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock in the afternoon during football season. It would be much easier on a Sunday. And that's where I felt like the boys gave the sense that they were much more amenable to being open to Sunday. And to me, that's about the same time where I felt like Gwen said she was amenable to a Sunday. And that's what she obviously presented. And it wasn't until yesterday that changed from a Monday offering, then back to a Friday offering. So I felt like we were in alignment up until 4 o'clock yesterday.
Well, let's touch on that. So throughout this process, mothers offered Friday transition periods. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And she's offered Monday visitation periods. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And she's offered Sunday visitation period. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And is it not true that on as far back as March 4th, she was texting you saying that she is agreement with Sunday transition periods?
That is correct.
Okay. And is it not true that the two of you were negotiating over other language besides that Sunday transition period at that juncture?
That is correct.
So at that juncture, the idea of a Sunday transition period wasn't an issue.
That is correct.
Okay. And is it not true that as of yesterday, you signed an agreement that she offered that allowed for Sunday transition periods?
Yes, at approximately between 11:30 and 12, right before I went for lunch, received the DocuSign, and I thought we were all done.
And then what happened?
I was on a conference call and got a phone call from you at a little bit after 3 o'clock. And I thought everything was going to be buttoned up. And you said, well, now she wants to offer Monday to Monday exchange.
Did she provide you with any reasoning as to why the date should now be Monday?
No.
Has she honestly provided you with any reasoning as to why she has chosen any of the dates she has provided?
No.
Do you love your children, Mr. Throckmorton?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you want what's in their best interest?
Absolutely. And I know that their mom being a part of their lives is just as important. In spite of what Ms. Lonergan and what Mrs. Throckmorton are saying, I have no ill will.
And would you recommend to this court a transition date that wouldn't be in their best interests?
No, Your Honor, I would not do something like that. And if I may just step in there, is that I've got two incredible boys, and I know that I'm not raising them on my own. I know their mom is just as active and cares for them just as much as I do. And Your Honor, I'd tell my friends that if I could take all the credit, I would, but I can't. And this is not out of a vindictiveness. This is not out of spite or disagreeing with Gwen's lifestyle. This is genuinely looking at how can I remain fully active with my children's life? And when is a really just a simple transition that's just easy for everybody without having to try and manage different schedules. And Sundays, it's simple. I mean, I don't know about you, but I remember just with my mom and dad sitting there in the afternoons and having a great barbecue somewhere between 3 and 5 o'clock and winding down and watching Disney together. And that's what I envision with my boys. And that's what happens at my household. And I'm sure that's what goes on with Gwen's. We're not competing for schedules with the kids and trying to manage who's picking up and who's dropping off. So I wanted to add a little bit of color there that I kind of felt disparaged earlier. And there is no tonality there towards my ex-wife.
But you disagree not just with your ex-wife, but also with the kid's therapist.
You know, I don't know her opinions and why that is. I will only look at the context of the schedule and how my ex-wife is saying she just wants Fridays. I'd certainly look at that from a convenience schedule for her and her partner and her children, rather than being amendable and saying, gosh, you know what? Todd is just as much of a father and he has 50% of this as well. What might make it easier for all of us?
And Mr. Throckmorton, when was the last time you spoke with the therapist?
I'm going to guess 2 years. I don't know for certain.
2 years ago?
Yes.
Has she reached out to you to discuss which day would be beneficial for the children?
No.
Has she reached out to you to discuss any concerning behavior or stressors that the children may be facing?
No,
Are you aware that she's reaching out and discussing these issues with Ms. Throckmorton?
no. I know that the boys were seeing her as a therapist, and I'm all for that. But I did not know that there was specific conversations around schedules.
So you never had the chance to discuss your perspective regarding a Sunday transition period
No.
with the therapist?
I did not.
And you've never had the opportunity to describe with her the potential struggles of a Friday transition period?
No, I did not. I would have been open to it, certainly.
And you've never had the opportunity to discuss with her what either of you believed would be in the best interest of the children's schedules?
No, I have not.
Do you find it concerning that Ms. Throckmorton has apparently consistently had conversations with the therapist?
Well, in this context, I do, because as Your Honor just asked, I'm going against what the therapist suggests, but I never had an opportunity to have a conversation. And so she doesn't have my perspective or view. It's only one-sided. And so I wish I would have had this opportunity prior to having this discussion right now.
And you heard the therapist testify today that she does believe recently that the children have kind of flip-flopped.
Yes.
What is your belief of the children's preferences today?
Oh, I mean, just talking with the boys yesterday and this morning is they couldn't believe that their mom suggested Monday because she said she would never do a Monday. And they were going down the path that Sunday was going to work just fine.
And you heard Ms. Throckmorton testify today that she may have to work until 6 p.m. Would that interfere with her proposed transition time?
I'm sure it would. I'm sure there'd be asks and added responsibility either on myself or on her partner to manage that transition.
And do you believe it's in the best interest of your children to, when they're with mother, be spending time with mother?
Yes.
So is it of your opinion that having a Sunday transition period would prevent said interference with mother's work schedule?
No.
You don't believe that it would?
Oh, I'm sorry. So, I mean, yeah, if I got you confused. Yeah, I mean, if their mom's working till 6 or 7, 8 at night, and just looking at her history of working at Facebook, I don't know what her new job looks like. She's an accomplished professional. She works hard, and it would certainly interfere with the ability to be interactive with her kids.
And you think that a Sunday visitation transition would help rectify that for her?
Yeah, I think that Gwen has said she makes herself available to volunteer and be active on Sundays with minimal work interference. And so she's a very dedicated mom. I know that she would be focused on the kids on Sundays. And I also know that when she's at work, she's very focused on work.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Your Honor, would you like me to wait till after lunch? I don't know what your calendar in the afternoon looks like. I can try to keep it to 10 or 15 minutes, but I don't want to impede on anybody's lunch.
Mr. Beck, how much time do each of them have left?
Ms. Lonergan has 12 minutes and Mr. Samp has 10.
So I think we're going to go ahead and work through the next 22 minutes. Michelle, are you okay with that? Yeah. All right. So you may proceed, Ms. Lonergan.
For court purposes, you filed your proposed disposition of issues on March 1st, saying that you wanted to continue the 225. At what point, for legal purposes, did you change your mind and you were willing to do week on, week off?
For legal purposes, when did I change my mind between
Right.
225 and well, we were having the discussions on around or about August 8 or 9 months ago.
A couple weeks ago, you said that you wanted to continue the status quo. You would only do 225. That's what your lawyer told me. That's what he filed with the court. When did you change your mind, sir?
Oh, well, because it didn't seem like Gwen wanted to be able to have any sort of concession. So, I mean, it was roughly that time when the files were, I guess, presented to the courts, whatever date that was.
Was that ever shared with us that you had changed your mind and were willing to do week on, week off? Legally?
I believe so. I think there's been a lot of dialogue between the attorneys that I'm not aware of.
Do you agree that there are texts and emails from you where you're agreeable to a Monday exchange? Is that
Yes, I made that available.
And you talked to Mr.
Sorry, I just needed to caution y'all again to please maybe watch the screen also to make sure you're both finished, because I'm missing out some of the answer and some of the question when you speak over each other. I apologize.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Noted. Thank you.
We're talking to Mr. Samp at length about your work schedule. You said twice that you have an ability to schedule have flexibility, like you can determine when you're going to meet with your finance clients, correct?
I try to.
And do you concede that you've had a 225, everybody keeps calling it a 223, but you've had a static schedule where you always had certain days during the week that you could travel, and now you're going to have a whole week that you're going to be able to schedule your time on? Do you concede that that is a big change for your ability to work around your work schedule?
Yes and no. I mean, again, it depends on when the clients can meet, when they can't meet. So I'm not able to dictate my own travel schedule. I can certainly try and improve what the outlook's going to be. But similar to you all, when a client wants to meet, you want to go make sure they're taken care of.
Okay. I never meet with clients on the weekend. So you would have an ability, even though you want to be work with them, you would have an ability to say, my work days are Monday through Friday because I have kids. You could do that. Yes, Mr.
That is correct.
Okay. And so in terms of the R1 that you presented, our contention was 26% of the time was travel and only 3% of the time ever had travel on a weekend. Do you think that it is more than 3% of the time over these, the 7 years that you've had? I think you gave us calendars going back many months where you're having to travel on weekends.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're asking maybe 3% of the time I travel on weekends?
That's what we saw in the calendars that you gave us.
Yeah, there might be appointments on there that have nothing related to travel on the weekends. I don't recall ever traveling on a Sunday or on a Saturday to go meet with a client.
And so you, the only time that you're really concerned about for purposes of telling Judge Schweifer is on coming back later because of a delay in a flight or something on a Friday. Because historically, over all these years, you had Friday transitions, both for summer and for your school schedule, but it hasn't historically been a problem.
So with that, if I'm hearing you correctly,
Yes, sir.
yes, there have been delays. There's been flight delays. There's been weather delays. There's been client and prospect delays that have impacted return trips on a Friday.
And do you agree that that's like 3% of the time, a very little amount of time? Or do you think that happens all the time?
Happens frequently. I can't put a percentage on it. I don't have enough statistics, information, or data points to be able to analyze that.
But now you could, with your full week, travel from Monday all the way to Friday at noon or Monday through Thursday only, correct?
It wouldn't change much depending on whenever the client wants to meet.
You said with Mr. Samp that it's really about tonality and that you guys have a good relationship. I want to ask you whether you believe that these messages that you're sending to Ms. Throckmorton are just about tone. You say that I want to get your insight on what your conversations look like with Thomas and Turner and the LGBTQ community and your view as a Christian and as a lesbian. Do you deny that you have made comments to her about the fact that she's Christian and a lesbian and you want to know how she's discussing it with the boys?
Well, in the tone that you read it, I denied. But in actually typing that out, not at all. It'd be a conversation just like this. The tone is, yes, I would like to know what the conversations look like in the LGBTQ community. As a father, I think I have an opportunity to know what those discussions are. She's never decided to have those conversations with me, and I've never pressed.
So again, when you say we're still here because of your affair and the divorce and it's all about you and your desires just a few days ago, you think that's just tone, but that a respectful and kind thing to say?
Well, I mean, if I say it like, hey, this is why we are still here, Gwen, because of what her decisions are. It wasn't my decisions that put us in this courtroom. It's not my decisions that have her and Miss Tricia getting in fights that the children are bringing up to me. That's not me. That's not the tonality that I bring to the table.
And so same thing with calling her a general just a few days ago. You were a general in a past life. There is no deviation from your plan at all cost. That's you co-parenting beautifully.
Well, when you the tonality around it like that, it's going to sound very bad. But if I say you're generalistic, you're very regimented in how you are approaching this, that is how I've said it. That's to the level, the tonality is which in which Gwen and I have had conversations. As I am speaking to you, Ms. Londergan, it's just like this. Never raised my voice and gotten frustrated, even when I had to go pick up the kids at 11 o'clock in the evening on a Saturday because she was kicked out of her own home by her partner.
So
I gave her a hug and I said, I'm sorry that you're having to deal with this.
on
I
June
was very
27th,
upset.
2023, Ms. Throckmorton sent you an email, June 27th of 2023. You have told the court repeatedly you got no reasons why she wanted Fridays. She says, Todd, per our text chat, I wanted to provide you some of the factors when drafting the calendar I sent you. Please note I'm not listing them or ranking them. The school calendar, this is her reasons for Fridays. Vacation and custody, aligning to 50-50 as much as possible, trying to go pure week to week on without making manual overrides or adjustments, alignment to Trisha's schedule with the kids, and desire to have a parent flow into a full week and holiday breaks. Do you remember her sending you that reasoning on June 27th? Are you denying that you received that email?
Well, I'm not denying it. I just don't recall seeing that.
You heard Diane Arnette today say that the boys have said that they want their schedule to be aligned with essentially their step family. I mean, they have a close relationship. They're close to Trisha's kids. Why would you not allow for them to have a schedule that is the same as the other children in the house?
Well, I didn't hear Ms. Arnette say that they wanted this schedule because of their siblings. I didn't hear her say that. She just said she's had the experience of transitioning kids on a Friday. That's fine. I get it. I'm of my children, just as Gwen is still the parent of our children. And I think that I have just as equal amount of voice in what their schedule is going to be, what their care is going to be, what that looks like.
You think a 16-and-a-half-year-old who is driving and has his own wheels and car has a say in terms of what schedule he wants?
He has a say in it, but just as a parent doesn't mean that I can go let them drink alcohol and go party until 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning.
So why, when the 16-and-a-half-year-old asked you to try both, try Sundays, try Fridays, why you said, I respected that he was bold and brave. You said brave, and yet you still denied it. Why did you do that to your son?
I didn't do it to my son. I was willing to try that. And Ms. Throckmorton hired you, and she said she hired you to be a third-party objective person in our council. But you sent over a Title 11, and there was no paperwork around that. So I had to hire an attorney to make sure I wasn't misinterpreting something. And so I thought Gwen and I could have gone down this path without having to go through a court process. I wanted us to be able to be amicable and adults. I was willing to try things, but she hired you. So then I had to hire an attorney, and I had to put all of this on pause.
But we're not talking about attorneys. The question was, sir, your son, and you lauded his bravery, came to you and said, I want a different schedule. I want to try both. Why did you say no to a son that's going to be graduating in a couple of years and is great, service-oriented, band? I mean, by all accounts, your children are amazing. And so he could have a voice. And so why did you not let his voice be heard by you? Well,
I did let his voice be heard. And an adult, well, a child may come to you and say, I want this or I want that. It doesn't mean that they get it.
Let's talk about Diane. Disengaged with Diane long ago and did not go to any more of the therapeutic sessions, correct?
Yeah, she didn't offer and I did not attend.
And you didn't even pay her.
Well, because she's out of, per the decree, it was going to be agreed upon that if anyone was in network, we would both be subsidizing and paying for that position. Ms. Arnette, I did not have a say in that. Gwen made that decision. And so thus she got to make that payment for them.
Ms. Lonergan, that's time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Beck. I will at this point pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Sam, anything further?
Just briefly, Mr. Throckmorton, when your son came to you and expressed his opinion as to what the transition period would be, did you factor his opinion into your decision?
Absolutely. I mean, it's important for me, and I listen to my children. I want them to have a voice. I want them to be strong, capable men. And I also shared with them, I thank you for your opinion. This schedule isn't conducive for you or for me. And it doesn't mean that he's bad for voicing his opinion. I want him to. But sometimes the parents still have to make the decision.
No further questions.
All right, thank you. So at this time, do you rest?
I do, Your Honor.
Ms. Lonergan, anything further, or you rest and close?
I don't, I'll leave it up to you on or not. I don't have any other witnesses, but if you wanted us to make a brief closing or if you're just ready to roll.
I am ready to rule, so I just want to make sure you both rest and close.
Yes,
Yes?
Your Honor, I rest and close.
Rest and close, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Lonergan, I understood your statement at the beginning of this hearing to be that your client is withdrawing the request that I confer with the children.
Yes, Ms. Arnette was present and told you his desires.
All right. And I take it there wasn't a request from you or your client, Mr. Samp.
No, Your Honor. We were on.
So I am ready to rule, and based on the evidence that I've heard and the pleadings on file, I find that it is in the best interest of the children to switch their possession schedule to week on, week off, with the transition day being, I think y'all have agreed that it's Friday, that it's 5 o'clock. Is that right?
I think I said school dismissal because that's
Okay.
what we're currently doing.
School dismissal. Then sounds like y'all have an agreement on how to work the reset provision if they're with one parent for 2 weeks or more.
Yes, Your Honor. That's what I'm understanding from Mr. Samp this morning.
All right. So Ms. Lonergan, when can you get us a proposed order? Or when can you get Mr. Samp a proposed order?
By the time you come back from lunch, we already have an order. I would just need to edit it very briefly. It would take 5-10 minutes.
All right. So how long would you like to review it and determine whether you have any objection to the form?
We would only need 2 or 3 days.
All right. So let's do this. If there is an agreement after 2 or 3 days, you'll get me the agreed to form order by next Monday.
Okay.
If there's any negotiating back and forth about the form, and y'all are unable to work it out, then Mr. Samp, I want you to get me a redlined version of Ms. Lonergan's order that would show what changes you think should be made to the form of the order by close of business on the Wednesday, the 27th, so a week from today.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Your Honor.
These kids sound like great kids, and I have no doubt that both parents love them very much. And I hope that y'all will work together to try and make this new schedule work for everyone. And
File 26-44379-FY set for sentencing. Mr. Seeger, did you have a chance to review the Catholic Human Services Substance Use Assessment Report?
I did, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Bruker, have you seen that as well?
Sorry, I was muted. I've not seen it, but I'm comfortable with us going forward.
All right. The recommendations are for outpatient substance abuse counseling and follow the recommendations of the therapist. And a mental health evaluation is advised. So that's the recommendations from that. There was a plea, it looks like, on May 15th to counts 3, 4, and 5 in the petition, which is set for sentencing today. Count 3 is drunk driving second offense. Count 4 is possession of a firearm under the influence. And count 5 is failure to stop a personal injury accident. Mr. Zangaleski, I'm going to hear from the attorneys as to their recommendations as to sentencing. And then once you've heard what they have to say, I'm going to give you an opportunity to say anything that you want to me before I decide what to do. So Ms. Bruker, your comments?
Just briefly, the circumstances that led to his arrest. He was at a comedy show at the Otsego Club, got into a dispute with someone there. One of the witnesses claimed they saw defendant lift up his shirt and he had a firearm in his belt. Sometime after that, and he was also intoxicated at the time. Sometime after that, his vehicle is at the end of the Otsego Club driveway and had crashed into one of the pillars there. There were witnesses who saw him there in the driver's seat, and he was highly intoxicated. His blood lab results were a .208. We are asking for the court to order $246.65 in OWI restitution to the Gaylord City Police Department. We are asking for the court to forfeit the firearm at issue, which is a Springfield Armory Prodigy 9mm semi-automatic. And because this is an OWI second, there is some mandatory jail that has to be imposed, and we would ask the court to impose that, as well as place him on probation and monitor that he follows those recommendations. I would ask the court to consider giving him a little more than the minimum of 5 days, just given that there was a crash, given how high his BAC was, and given that there was a firearm at the scene. That's all I have, Judge.
All right. Mr. Seeger, your allocution?
Your Honor, by way of elocution, I would just ask the court to impose the minimum 5 days that's required statutorily. Clearly, Mr. Zenzigulowski was in the wrong on that day, and I think he recognizes that. He also recognizes that he not only puts himself in danger, but he also puts other people in danger when he's operating under the influence. During the course of his bond, he's not had any hiccups. He continues to work. He's generally a productive person. He is very remorseful for what has happened. He recognizes that the firearms will be forfeited per statute, per plea agreement. I think that this was just a very unfortunate incident, and the report itself did not read particularly well. However, I did speak to the people who were named in the report, and it was described much differently than that was described in the report. He's hopeful that the court will impose the 5 days with credit for time served. He does have valid employment. He is able to pay his court costs and fines. But if a extended period of jail was imposed, it would affect his employment options. I think in many ways, Your Honor, because his license will be revoked by and through the Secretary of State, that is a large penalty to people, which is it's somewhat collateral, but it's also very much a punishment. And I don't know if punishment's the right word, Your Honor, because that's maybe not how the court sees it, but it is definitely a effect of his decisions. So he's going to have to rectify that at a later date. Clearly, he won't be able to drive and hasn't been. But he's remorseful. He's hopeful to put this behind him. And he's just hopeful that the court will give him the 5 days in jail with credit for time served.
Thank you, Mr. Seeger. Mr. Zengaleski, is there anything that you want to say?
I would like to add that I am indeed very remorseful for everything that happened there. I'm very glad that nobody else was hurt in this, that it didn't extend to anybody else. It didn't inconvenience anybody else more so than it has. The only thing I could add is I do understand the blood alcohol reading is very high. That was mainly added to the fact of a poor decision to drink once I got back to my house, which definitely added to that reading. I was drunk at the time of crashing. I'm not disputing that at all. I just know that number is very much higher due to that poor choice once I got back home.
Thank you, Mr. Zengaleski. Can you tell me why you told the substance abuse assessor that you did not believe that use of alcohol is a problem?
I think that the use of alcohol is a problem, Your Honor. The way that the questions were worded kind of just makes it seem like I guess in a responsible fashion, the use of alcohol should not be a problem. Whenever it is done and added to things that are not supposed to be done while consuming alcohol, that is very much a problem. I don't dispute that.
My question was, why would the substance abuse assessor put that down that you don't believe your use of alcohol is a problem?
I think that the way I answered it when she asked the question, I was saying that this was a one-time, I'm not a normal drinker. Like I honestly, which doesn't excuse any of this. I don't normally go out and drink every day, every week, every month. Like it's very seldom. In this instant, yes, my use of alcohol was a problem. I wonder if maybe the way I worded it when I talked to her made her seem as though I don't think that this was a problem, although I very much do.
The assessor also wrote down that minimization of his use of alcohol could not be ruled out. Why would she write that?
I don't know what her train of thought was, but when I spoke with her, I made mention to her that this was more so the only times I've ever had alcohol infractions are really the only times I've ever socially drank. Was 4th of July 2.5 years ago, and now this instance. I'm not even an alcohol really person. It was a poor choice that I made, and it has affected my life, and I regret that choice. But I don't know what her thought was to say that. I definitely am acknowledging my problem with drinking and that I can't, and I have been sober ever since December 29th. I don't intend on going back on that at all, actually. It's the car that I spent 4 years building, and that was my choice and my poor judgment, and I don't want to put anything back into that situation to cause that again.
Not to minimize what you're saying, but you would have to be the most unlucky person in the world to have the only 2 times that you drank be the 2 times that you got arrested for drunk driving.
In the last 4 years, yes, Your Honor, it is, and I am very aware of that.
Even if what you tell me is true, that you drank more after doing the crash and got up to a .20, What that tells me is that's not the only time that you've drank in the recent time period around that. A normal person can't get to a 0.20 if they only drink every once in a while. Your body will not tolerate that. You'll pass out before you get there. You've got to be a consistent heavy drinker to be able to walk around and do what you did at a 0.20. You understand what I'm saying to you?
I understand that, Your Honor. It's just a type of alcohol or the quickness in which, because when I came home, these are horrible decisions, Your Honor. I'm not advocating that anything that I did was good or reasonable. When I got home, I was upset about wrecking my car, and I saw all the parts on my ground that I was going to put into it, realized that they were of no use, and I opened a bottle that a friend had given me probably 2.5 years prior, and I just drank from that bottle, probably about 5.5 to 10 minutes before the cops showed up. Again, not a good thing at all.
What I'm saying to you is, even if that's true, and you got to a 0.20 after crashing your car, the fact that you got to a 0.20 tells me that your body has a high tolerance for alcohol. And the only way to get that high tolerance is to drink a lot of alcohol on a regular basis, not just once every 2.5 years when you get caught for drunk driving. That, in my mind, is why the substance abuse assessing person wrote on your report that minimization could not be ruled out, because I don't think you're being truthful in how much you're drinking and how often you're drinking. And I don't think that you understand or don't want to understand how much alcohol is playing a role in your life. And you now have 2 drunk drivings within a 3-year period of time. That is highly unusual. That is people that go to jail for a long period of time because they are a menace to society. And the fact that you didn't kill anybody is blind luck. You smashed your car at a parking lot at the Otsego Club, which is a very well-used, very public place. You had a firearm with you while you were doing it. You realize how dangerous you are under those circumstances?
Yes, Your Honor.
You seem to me to be a well-spoken person, but you are making some incredibly dangerous decisions, not only to yourself, but to others. And I simply can't have that. Is there anything else that you want to tell me, sir?
No, Your Honor. That was all I had to say.
All right. I'm going to put you on a term of probation for 1 year. That's longer than I normally do it, but because of the circumstances that I've just described, I think it's necessary to monitor your behavior for a longer period of time to make sure that you don't do anything like this again. That 1 year period of time will cost you a probation oversight fee of $360. There's a mandatory $75 crime victim fee, mandatory justice assessment of $50. There is $246.65 in restitution to the city police department for their investigation in this matter. There is a court costs of $300, a fine of $200, and a local charge of $15. Let me add all that up for you. It's a total of $1,246.65 that can be paid over probation. You may perform community service in lieu of fines and costs at the discretion of the probation office. You must enroll in and successfully complete the recommended treatment program, which is outpatient substance abuse counseling and all recommendations. I'm also going to require a mental health assessment and follow all recommendations. You must sign a release as to all counselors so that the probation department can ensure that you're doing what you've been recommended to do. While you're on probation, there's to be no consumption or possession of alcohol or drugs, no entrance into a business where alcohol is served by the glass. It means no bars, even if they happen to serve food. You may go into a restaurant that happens to serve alcohol, but you may not consume alcohol and you may not sit in the bar portion. There will be drug and alcohol testing at the discretion of the probation department. You will forfeit firearm. That was a Springfield Prodigy 9mm handgun. I'm going to give you 10 days in jail simply because you had your prior to it within 3 years. This case within 3 years of your prior because of the possession of a firearm during the course of that because of the crash and because I believe that you minimize and have minimized your drinking, not taking full stock of that, and you need a wake-up call in order to fully understand how dangerous you made the community by your drinking. Do you have any questions about the court's order, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Your
Right.
Honor, the only question that I would have is I think he's entitled to at least 1 day of credit because he was arrested.
Be happy to give him credit.
And then, Your Honor, the only other question would be, is relative to, because I'm not sure how the good time would be calculated in lieu of the 10 days less any time that he's actually served. But is he able to schedule with his work the days that he would be incarcerated such that he can not lose his job?
He's going to do his time in one block. If he wants,
Yes, Your Honor.
if he wants to report, see, today is the 18th. He can report tomorrow at 6 o'clock, or he can report June 26th at 6 o'clock to begin his time. That gives him either a day or a week to get his affairs in order. Which would you like to do, Mr. Zengaleski?
Tomorrow, Your Honor.
All right, you'll report to the Otsego County Sheriff's Department, 6/19 at 6 p.m.
Yes, Your Honor.
Anything else, Mr. Seeger?
No, Your Honor.
All right, that's all for today. Good luck to you, sir.
Okay.
Next matter is the State of Michigan versus Ryan Schultz. That's filed 25-43974-SM. You see Mr. Steffi is here. Mr. Steffi is your client. There he is. All right.
Both here, thank you.
All right, everybody's present. This is set for a status review. Mr. Steffi, do we have a resolution of this matter?
Thank you, Judge. We do not have a resolution at the present time. This is my first appearance on this case. I know that it has been pending a while, and we did request an adjournment of the status conference previously. I was going to ask Your Honor if you consider a brief date of perhaps 2 weeks to check back in, but I understand if you'd feel more comfortable moving forward.
This case is really getting old, and I'm not in any way laying that at your feet, Mr. Steffi, but the arraignment was in August of last year. So no, we're not going to adjourn this. If you want to set a plea date, that's great. If you want to set a trial date, that's great. But anything other than those two options is not going to happen.
Understood.
So which would you like to do?
Judge, perhaps if we could just get a trial date to lock that in, and then we'll get a plea cutoff date. And I have been working, communicating with Ms. Bruker, and have just a little more discovery to review, and then we should have a pretty firm decision.
All right. Typically, when I set a trial date, and I will try to do that, I'm not sure if I can do that from bench right here today or not. But typically what I do is the week before that, I set a status review date, and that's a plea cutoff date. And I require jury instructions to be agreed upon by counsel. If there's anything that can't be agreed upon, we'll hear that on that week, the week before, the status conference the week before as well. And then witness and exhibit list would also have to be done and ready. That's that status conference date the week before the jury trial is set anyway. So you're going to get a little bit of a time to be able to prepare. But I think I want to do that and then let you plead if you want to plead at that last status conference. And that is my practice as well. The last status conference is the last day I'll accept a plea to anything other than straight up. Because we have to call in the jurors, we have to get the courtroom ready, we have to adjourn other things. And I think Mr. Steffi knows that. I'm saying this much for the benefit of Mr. Stevens, or excuse me, Mr. Schultz. So is there anything else that we need to do today, Mr. Steffi?
No, Judge, thank you for the explanation and details. That makes sense to me.
All right, Mr. Schultz, just so that you're aware that obviously the trial will be in person. I'm not able to give you the date yet, but we'll schedule that as quickly as possible, and we'll send notices out for that. So that would need to be in person. The status conference 1 week in advance will be via Zoom, so we'll be able to do that one more time that way. So I'll see everybody then.
How long do they anticipate the trial lasting?
Do we need more than 1 day for trial?
No, Judge.
I don't think so. Thanks.
All right. That'll be all for today then. Thank you very much. We'll set a trial date and the status conference date and send those out to you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
In quiet location and on mute until your case is called. When your case is called, please turn on your video and unmute yourself. We are creating a court record. There is some lag time between speakers, so it is important that you speak slowly and clearly. Do not interrupt when others are speaking. Wait for a moment or two before responding to avoid talking over each other. Please have a pen and paper ready, as you may be given a phone number to call at the end of your hearing. Please note, all participants must appear by video and rename your device to properly identify yourself. Thank you. Your hearing should be called shortly.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 87A District Court. I'm Judge Hesselink. First matter on the afternoon docket is that of the state of Michigan versus Ronald Zengaleski. That's file 26-44379-FY. I do see Mr. Zengaleski is with us. Is Mr. Seeger here with us? Ms. Hill, do you see Mr. Seeger in the waiting room? Attorney Seeger?
I do not, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Zengaleski, I'm going to give your attorney a few minutes to sign in. So I'll recall your matter in just a little bit, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
State of Michigan versus Eric Corp, file 26-44608-FD.
James Dick, standing in for attorney Richard Trush on behalf of Mr. Corp.
Today, I do see Mr. Corp is present with us. I believe this is the date and time set for a status review. Yes. Mr. Dick, is there a resolution to this matter?
Not at present, Your Honor. From discussing this with Mr. Trush, it's my understanding that today we are going to waive the 21-day rule. Mr. Corp and his attorney have submitted an application for the drug court. And then we would like to also address bond for permission to travel for work out of state.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
No, excuse me, sir. I don't need to travel. I gave up that job in Nashville, so I don't need the travel. I was trying to get a hold of you yesterday, but yeah, I don't need the travel. I let the job go.
No, thank you.
All right. So we just need to waive the 21-day rule, let Mr. Trush get back so he can discuss things with his client and let the sobriety court app be processed. All right. Mr. Corp, is that what you want to do?
Yes, sir. I met with Miss Vaseline. You know her. At Bear River, I did one of my mental health things, and then I meet with Mr. Hamlin Monday for his evaluation too, sir.
All right, that sounds good. The 21-day rule that your attorney, Mr. Dick, mentioned is a rule that says that you have the right to have a hearing in court called a preliminary examination, and to have that within 21 days of your arraignment. You were arraigned on June 8th, so that would put us near the end of this month when you would have that hearing. However, you have the right to postpone that hearing if you think that that would be in your best interest. And that is what your attorneys have suggested. Is that okay with you?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'm required to find that you do that knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily. Is all of that true?
Yes, sir.
All right. So nobody's pressuring you. Nobody's threatening you. You're doing this of your own free choice?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I will find that you've properly waived the 21-day rule. If you wish to have that hearing in the future, you simply need to ask, and we will schedule that for you. But as of right now, we'll simply postpone it to let all of the things that we previously talked about occur. And we will reschedule this matter. Well, let me say this. There's a preliminary examination set for next week. Do we want to just change that to a status review date? Or do we, Mr. Dick, do you think we need a little more time than that?
I would think that you probably, probably need a little bit more time so that the court team can meet to review the application and whatnot, if it's to that point. So
yeah,
perhaps
we're actually meeting on Tuesday of next week. If and I don't know if Mr. Hamlin can get Mr. Corp's case processed that quickly, but our next meeting is this coming Tuesday. I think I'm just going to leave the prelim on, use it as a status review, and see if we get it in. If we get him in, then we can start moving that way. But if not, we'll just bounce it down the road a little bit as well. So the prelim now scheduled for 6/25 at 1:30. We'll leave that date on and we'll call it a status review conference. Mr. Corp, that simply means that the attorneys and you and I will just discuss the status of the case at that time. Hopefully we'll have some news from the sobriety court as to whether or not you've been allowed to be in that and what needs to happen from that. And then you'll have a chance to speak with your attorney, hopefully prior to that as well, and see if there's any other issues that need to be resolved. But that just keeps the case moving a little bit. If we need some additional time, we can postpone it again too if we need to. So no prelim, just the status conference next week on the 25th. Any other questions that you have, Mr. Dick?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. Corp, any questions?
No, Your Honor, just, yeah, the status is all right. Yeah, we're gonna go for the, get extension if we could, please.
All right. So I'll see you next week. If there's anything, if you need an extension again, we'll listen at that time.
Okay, yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now I shut this off.
We'll see Mr. Seeger. So, all right. State of Michigan versus Adam Fletcher. There's two files. The first is 26-4450-ST. And we also have Adam Fletcher 26-44546-FY. Mr. Dick, are these your cases?
James Dick on behalf of Mr. Fletcher on both files. And Mr. Fletcher, please turn on your camera.
I don't believe Mr. Fletcher is connected to audio.
No.
Mr. Fletcher, can you hear me? Do you show him in the waiting room or in the courtroom, Ms. Hill?
He actually, oh, he's back now. He left for a moment. I don't think he has good connection.
I'm back. I'm sorry, you guys. I apologize for court.
It's all right. Can you turn your video on, please?
Yes, sir. It should be on. I can see myself.
I can see you now, but you just came in, so I got you now.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Dick, do we have a resolution of these matters?
Judge, we are going to move this up to the circuit court to take advantage of the plea offer that has been extended. As such, we will waive the preliminary exam today.
All right. And then the misdemeanor matter, do you want to adjourn that and see what happens with this felony matter, see if it's resolved?
Yes, that's going to need to be adjourned. Excuse me. The plea offer was to plead on the one count in the felony file, and the misdemeanor file would ultimately be dismissed, but we haven't entered that plea yet. So
right.
Yes, if it could be just continued with it. So 30.
All right, we'll do that. So file 26-44450 will be adjourned. Let me put it out about 60 days. And then if it gets dismissed in that time period, then we won't have to worry about it. Let me get a date for that.
Very good. Thank you.
New August 27th.
August 27th.
Do the morning docket.
At 9 a.m. That'll just be a jury status conference. All right. Then as to the felony matter, Mr. Fletcher, your attorney has said that he would like to move the case up to circuit court so that they can be resolved up there. Is that what you want to do?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. In order to do that, you would have to give up your right to have a preliminary examination in this court. And that examination is a short hearing in front of me as the judge, where the prosecutor would have to bring in a small amount of evidence called probable cause that you committed the crimes that you've been charged with. That is not a determination of guilt or innocence. It's just a check to make sure that there's sufficient evidence to proceed with the case. You can have that hearing, or you can voluntarily give up that hearing and move the case up to circuit court. Is that what you want to do? Move it up to circuit court? Did we lose Mr. Fletcher?
We did, Your Honor.
Let's give him a few seconds, see if he can dial back in.
He's here.
All right, thank you. Mr. Fletcher, can you hear me? Mr. Fletcher, are you able to hear me?
I heard all the way to move my case up.
All right, so in order to do that, I have to find that you made that decision voluntarily. Has anybody promised you anything or threatened you in any way to get you to do that?
No, sir.
Doing this of your own free choice and free will?
Yes, sir.
All right, there's a form, a piece of paper that needs to be signed. Do I have your permission to sign your name to that? Looks like we lost him again.
Newman, Northern Michigan.
Ms. Hill, is he back yet or not?
No, Your Honor. Oh, he's back now.
Yeah, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Fletcher, I have you back just short period. Can I sign your name to this paperwork to do this?
Yes, Your Honor, and I apologize to the court again.
All right. I'm going to sign your name, and that's all we need to do today. Your case will be moved up to the circuit court. All right, sir?
Judge, would we do the arraignment on the information today?
Yeah, well, if you can have him stick around long enough.
Okay.
You want to waive reading on that, Mr. Dick?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Brucker, any objection to continuing bond and entering a not guilty plea?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we'll do that as well. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. That's all for today.
You have my permission to sign.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The next case is State of Michigan versus Kenneth Koshelniak. Looks like we have about 4 files on this one. First case is 26-44547-ST, set for a status conference. Next we have Mr. Koshelniak in 26-44487-FY, set for a status review. Similarly, we have file 26-4470-FY, also set for a status review. Then we have file 25-44159-FY, set for a probation violation, all involving Mr. Koshelniak. Mr. Dick, are these your matters?
Yes, James Dick on behalf of Mr. Koshelniak on all files.
All right, I do see Mr. Koshelniak is present. How do you want to resolve these cases, Mr. Dick?
Your Honor, at present, as part of the plea negotiation process, I was seeking to obtain a letter from Mr. Koshelniak's physician. After about a month and a half of saying that they are going to provide this letter, June 10th, they decided they were not going to provide it. And I understand that it's likely for liability purposes. So with that being said, Your Honor, I do have to now request medical records and request funding for a medical professional to review the records and put together an opinion that I can present to the prosecution. We are still diligently working on this case, Your Honor. However, that is the holdup at the present moment. The oldest case, I believe, is now approximately 57 days post-arraignment. I would ask if the court would extend one additional just period of adjournment, perhaps an additional 30 days, a final one, to allow us to obtain the documentation, have it reviewed by the medical professional, and submit it to the prosecution in order to seek a proper resolution to this matter.
Well, I understand what you just told me, but at least one of these cases is much older than you indicated. 26-44470, which is the one he's charged with possession of firearms and resisting obstructing police. He was arraigned on March 31st, which puts us somewhere in the 70 plus or 75 day.
Oh, my apologies.
So,
yes,
it's getting old, and I understand exactly what you're trying to do.
Would it be
if matters are not going to be in the district court, is that what you're attempting to do?
Your Honor, I'm 100. I would love that to happen. Yes, I'm not 100% sure what the prosecution is going to be willing to do, but I know that they are waiting on this medical documentation in order to do anything. So perhaps if we set it for a preliminary examination sometime out, no witnesses needed, that moves it along on your docket. Would that be satisfactory to the court?
Well, it's better than nothing.
Well,
yeah. Ms. Brucker, are we looking at a misdemeanor disposition if case scenario comes down the road?
Mr. Dick has told us there's medical records, and we've said we'll look at what he gives us, and that's all I really know. So I can't really make a promise, just based on that. So
all right. No, I get that too. So I wasn't trying to push or shove anything. I just wanted to figure out where we're at. So I think what I am going to do is set these matters for preliminary examination and hold you to it. The only way it's not going to happen is if there's a deal either in the district court or one that goes up to the circuit court or a waiver to accomplish those things, simply because we've waited way longer than we probably should have already. We're going to need a date where we can get 3. We've got 3 felony files, right?
2 felony, 1
yes.
misdemeanor.
That's right. 2 felony, 1 misdemeanor, and 1 probation.
And we would ask you if the probation file could follow still. It's just,
I can certainly do that. That's not a problem. Here's my misdemeanor case there.
We have
What's the
July 13th. We have the warning for the criminal docket. There's nothing scheduled yet. So if we wanted to do 2 prelims that morning.
July 13th, we have issues with our office because Mr. Fortier is out that week. Mr. Roll is in a trial, and I have something personal on the 13th, so I will not be in.
Okay, then.
I'd be happy.
Sorry,
to.
Judge. Sorry to interject, but I heard that date. There are a couple weeks in July when Mr. Fortier and I are taking turns being gone in their circuit trials, and yeah.
Yep, I totally understand. I'm glad you did tell me. All right, so next date.
Would be July 30th. Otherwise, I can look for a criminal docket day before then.
Let's do July 30th. Let's set it for a status conference. Are you available on the 16th, Ms. Brooker?
Yes.
You're not here on the 16th.
I'm not here on the 16th
23rd.
or the 23rd?
Nope.
Well, all right for me then. How about the 17th or the 24th?
17th, we have a little bit of room. We just scheduled the other prelim.
Just going to be a status review to see what we're doing.
Yeah, we couldn't fit it in the morning on the 17th.
All right, so prelim on both files, July 30th, that morning,
Be the afternoon.
afternoon,
Yeah.
3 o'clock. And we have,
Better do 2:30 in
2:30.
case both of them go.
all right. Prelim, July 30th at 2:30 in both cases. That'll be in person. And then we'll do a felony status review. We say the 17th at
17th in the morning.
9.
Yep.
7/17 at 9 a.m. That'll be both cases again.
Thank you, Your Honor.
And hopefully you guys can reach some sort of an accommodation before then with the medical records. And if you get an agreement, we can either put it on the record at the status review or the prelim, whichever one you want to do. So, Mr. Koshelniak, does that all meet with your approval?
Yes, sir. You said in person. Is that going to be in Zoom or physical coming to court?
No, that will be physically. The prelim on the 30th will be in person. The status review on the 17th will be via Zoom.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
I will see you then, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Hill,
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Zengaleski has been waiting patiently, and I have yet to see Mr. Seeger. I'm guessing that he forgot about it. Do you have a number where you can reach him and try to get him here? Or
I will
Mr.
get that.
I'm sorry?
I can get that from Brent.
Well, either that or Mr. Zengaleski, do you have a number for your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. I can look that up for you.
Yeah, why don't you just give him a call, put yourself on mute, or jump off and then jump back on, however you need to do it. If you call him, remind him that we have a hearing today, and see if he's able to get back on with you, and then we can take your case as soon as he gets here.
Absolutely, Your Honor. I will put myself on mute and handle that.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Koshelniak came back in, and I'm not sure if he needed something.
Did you need anything else, Mr. Koshelniak?
No, I wasn't sure if I was done or not.
Yes, you are. That's fine. You're free to go, sir. Thank you for checking. Next matter is State of Michigan versus Ryan Schultz. That is file 25-43974-SM, set for a status conference.
Judge, that's set at 2:15. I know Mr. Steffi logged in earlier and then he realized it was at 2:15, so I anticipate him coming back shortly.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate that help. All right. Looks like we are in recess until 2:15 or until Mr. Zengaleski gets contact with his attorney. 5-3-DJ. If I can have the appearances of counsel, please, starting with Ms. Brooker.
Amanda Brooker appearing on behalf of the people.
Larry Brown on behalf of Derek Ford.
All right. This is a pretrial set in the second of two matters that were designated and bound over to circuit court. This is on petition 25-2, which is alleges financial transaction device possession, 3 counts. Nope, 4 counts, sorry. And I believe we were originally waiting to see what the status and the outcome of the petition 25-1, the CSC case was. So Mr. Brown, can you update me as to that one and then let me know what you want to do on this particular matter?
Yes, I can, Your Honor. We did have a pretrial on this in front of Judge Burmeister not that long ago. Looks like it was back on May the 15th. This matter is being set for a trial. I am not exactly sure. I haven't gotten notice yet. I think there was some concern about how we were going to do the trial, whether it was going to be in district court or we're going to have to reserve the circuit court because we are going to have 12 jurors for it. But that trial should be coming up, and I can defer to Ms. Brooker if she has any other knowledge. within the next couple of months is what I would imagine. So I would ask to adjourn this out maybe for 90 days. Again, there is a misdemeanor offer. I do expect a plea in this matter, but I want to wait until we get the results of that jury trial.
Ms. Brooker, any other information?
I don't have a date yet for the other trial. I just checked.
All right. I didn't see one in the court file either, so I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Mr. Ford, you've heard what the lawyers have said. Is that what you want to do? Agree to an adjournment to see what happens with the criminal sexual conduct case?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. You do have the right to have a speedy and public trial in this matter, but you also have the right to waive or move the case down the road if you think it would be to your advantage. Has anybody promised you anything or threatened you in any way to get you to agree to move this down the road?
No, Your Honor.
You're doing this out of your own free choice and free will after consulting with your attorney?
Yes, Your Honor.
And do you believe this to be in your own best interest?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I will find that you have properly waived your right to speedy trial at this point. We will set this for another status conference in approximately 90 days to give the criminal sexual conduct case a chance to move its way through the system. If you have any questions in the meantime, please make sure that you get a hold of your lawyer and ask those questions of him so that he can assist you. Ms. Brooker, any additional things that we need to do today? Mr. Brown?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. That's all for today then. Thank you all very much. Good luck to you, Mr. Ford.